It all kicks off out of nowhere when these bluish gates just pop up all over the globe. These gates just hung around, not really messing with folks' lives much. Right in the middle of all this madness is our main man, Han Yugen. He's an orphan and had to work his butt off, kinda like a modern-day Cinderella. The folks at his job seem pretty decent, tossing him a water bottle and complimenting his hustle. They ask Yugen what he's gonna do with his paycheck, and he says he needs it for his brother's college tuition. He starts spilling the beans about how they ended up orphans when they were little, and because of it, he had to bail on school to take care of his younger brother. Our hard worker even whips out a picture of him and his brother, bragging about his brother's build. He keeps going on about his little brother, talking like someone who's way too protective. He mentions his brother's school is getting out early today and they're planning a BBQ afterward. Once they've got the truck loaded up and are good to go, they start jawing about how much more work they've been buried under lately. As they're making their way to the drop-off, a new gate suddenly appears right above them. Our hard-working orphan, still stuck on thoughts of his brother, points out that a gate also showed up on the route his brother takes to college. Yugen notices this gate looks like a different color than the usual blue they're used to seeing. Suddenly, a loud crash echoes as something slams into their truck from behind, making our hero jump out real quick to check out what the heck is happening. What he sees just blows everyone's mind. Some pterodactyl-looking monster is hovering over him, looking like it's about to pounce. Just when he thinks dealing with one of these things is enough drama, a whole mess of these monsters pour out of the gates. These gates are like doorways connecting Earth to what are called dungeons. Kinda like what you'd see in anime or manga worlds. If these gates just hang around and nobody deals with them, they can burst wide open, leading to what's known as a dungeon break. And if a bunch of gates blew up at the same time, that whole mess would later be called the dungeon shock, a threat probably nobody saw coming. This whole thing messed up a lot of lives, with millions kicking the bucket. Yugen spots a wooden stick and sprints to save his boss who's still stuck in the truck. When he gets to him, he sees his boss as being a total champ, standing his ground against the monster. Looks like he's had some kind of awakening, getting strong enough to take on these things. Folks who go through this awakening are called hunters, and hunting monsters in these dungeons quickly became the most important job on the planet. That same day, Eugen's little brother, Han Yun, also has an awakening and torches the monsters with his black flames. The brother our hero loved so much awakens as the world's first S-ranked hunter. 8 years have rolled by since that big mess went down. A news reporter is interviewing this lady hunter. The lady hunter shows her status window, which apparently only hunters can see. Seeing these status windows makes the awakened feel like they got sucked into a game. The female hunter, named Yumi, uses this nature skill that makes trees sprout out of nowhere. Apparently, she used this skill to save a bunch of people 8 years ago during the big incident. 8 years back, Yumi was broke and couldn't land a job. Her room was a disaster area, covered in mold, when all of a sudden she figured out she could use this skill. Next thing she knows, she's hired as a hunter and started Bayability, raiding dungeons with her little guild. Even though these dungeons are kinda freaky, they were loaded with chances cause all the monster parts and stuff could be sold for a ton of cash, especially if they were S-ranked. And this new thing humans started digging up from these dungeons was called magic stones, and they were the main reason higher-ranked adventurers got rich super fast. Among all these high rankers was Eugen's little brother, who got famous crazy quick, growing up an orphan. He leaned on his brother's blank, hard work to keep him afloat. Not only was he one of the youngest to awaken, but he also became the youngest guild master. Word on the street is his bank account is way bigger than anyone could ever imagine. The scene cuts back to the news reporter, who asks Yumi if she's also raked in the dough. Yumi says no, explaining she's just an E-ranker and has been putting money aside to cover her younger sister's school costs. The next day, nobody had a clue that this lady hunter would soon become history. The poor soul enters a Pleasant and Devly dungeon raid and bites the dust. Even though they rush her to the hospital, she's way worse off than anyone could hope to recover from. Just like every coin has two sides, so did being a hunter. There was no promise you'd see your family again once you stepped in. The scene switches to a gate spot where hunters are getting ready to charge in. One of them pipes up against the leader, ragging on the call to bring a handicapped dude, talking about our main guy, along for the raid. Eugen tries to tell the guy he can hook him up with buffs, but the jerk keeps making fun of him. He mocks our boy for being a useless hunter who just lives off scraps. The reason our hero is called the Nurturer is because besides his skills, he somehow manages to make it out alive even when everyone else bites it in a dungeon. The bully keeps pushing Eugen's buttons, saying even his little brother doesn't care about him. This pisses off our hero, who blows up, telling the guy to shut his trap. Unluckily for him, he ends up getting kicked by the bully. The bully grabs Eugen by the collar, making him feel the massive difference in strength between an E-ranker and a D-ranked hunter. Then he shoves him to the ground, daring him to whine to his brother. Beat up up and hurtin'. Our F ranker coughs as he struggles to get back up. The leader comes over and uses his skills to pump up Eugen's strength. He asks why Eugen would hurt himself before even going into the dungeon and tries to chill him out. The old guy tries to make him see that he's just a nobody and needs to keep it humble. My man gives him a smile, thanking him for letting him join his party even with his low rank. They act all buddy-buddy, and after this, the old man goes up to the bully, slaps him on the head, and tells him to cut the crap. Meanwhile, Eugen activates his skill, putting the leader, Lim Soku, under his spell. With everything sorted, the crew gathers up and steps into the dungeon. If nothing else, our hero is sure he'll make it out alive thanks to this very influenced skill. Once they get inside the dungeon, the raid team is greeted by a swarm of bat monsters that look like they flew straight out of a Pokemon game. The team quickly gets into position and takes them out. They argue with each other to stay sharp, cause monsters can pop up out of nowhere. While the team is busy beating the monsters and scooping up magic stones from them, our F ranker finds himself stuck with the Minin gig. The worst part is that 80% of whatever he digs up is going to be taken as commission. The bully yells at him to hustle up, digging, warning he'll starve. Our hero wonders if he could stash the stones, but is scared of getting caught and punished. To feel better, he remembers Cinderella's story. He remembers his brother leaving him alone while he worked hard. His brother started a new guild, the World's Edge. Soon it was the biggest and strongest, and they grew apart. Eugen couldn't even go near his little brother anymore. Alone, our hero wished he had awakened. So, he spent all his money on a broker who promised to awaken him. The broker lied, saying he'd be an S ranker, and made him do awful stuff. He did awaken, but only as a pathetic F ranker. The broker used him up and ditched him. Just like everyone else, the media made fun of him. Even his brother, who he'd done everything for, called him a disgrace. When you awaken, you get a title. Eugen got Nurturer. His brother made fun of it, calling it embarrassing. Worse, our poor guy got hurt in a dungeon and became handicapped. When he asked his brother for help, hoping for a healer, his own brother said no. Eugen backed off, accepting he was a parasite to his brother, but he kept surviving in dungeons. Even as an F ranker, thanks to his unique skill, after awakening, he could influence anyone nearby. Just using the word cheer up was enough. His basic skill could give hunters a small buff, but there was more. The reason a parasite like him survived when his team was wiped out wasn't just luck, it came from a hidden skill with his Nurturer title. This extra skill was called the Final Requital. As he dug and thought about all this, his hidden skill suddenly kicked in, boosting his stats a lot. He dropped his tool, wondering if something bad had happened. His hidden skill's effect was simple. He could temporarily get double the stats of those he influenced, and even use their skills at twice the power. Basically, if someone he influenced had a speed of 100, his hidden skill gave him a speed of 200. This Final Requital was what truly saved him, but there was a catch. It only worked when someone under his influence died. This made him nervous, especially since it was just a D-rank dungeon. He hadn't expected it to activate so soon. He went to where the team was fighting and saw blood everywhere. Fear hit him when he saw his boss in trouble. Suddenly, he heard someone yell for help. He turned and saw a team member being eaten by a three-headed dragon. The sight shattered him. It was the infamous Poison and Cursed Dragon King, Rars, a dragon people said couldn't be killed. He couldn't figure out what a dragon like this was doing in a D-rank dungeon. The Dragon King Railer spotted Eugen and charged at him. Panicked, Eugen used his boss's D-rank skill, Leg Strengthening, to run for his life. Seeing some old ruins nearby, he decided to hide there and plan his escape, but before he could reach them, the Calamity Dragon's tail smashed into the ruins, turning them to dust. With nowhere to hide, our handicapped hero desperately used body strengthening on his arms, hoping to block the dragon's attack. But a single hit from the Dragon King Railer sent him flying, tossing him aside like a toy. Lying there, bleeding, Eugen realized he was no match for this monster. His hidden skills effect kicked in, flooding him with his boss's memories. His boss had fought hard, but couldn't even heal the wounds from the Calamity Dragon. Even the bully guy tried to buy time, but the dragon crushed him like a bug. These memories terrified Eugen, and he tried to get up, but his injured legs wouldn't move. Panicked, he squeezed his eyes shut, sure this was the end. Just when he thought he was done for, an explosion shook the area, and he was saved by none other than his little brother, Yoon. Dazed, our F-ranker asked why his brother saved him, but Yoon just told him to stay back. Worried, Eugen pleaded with him to be careful. In response, his little brother used his blue willow leaf skill, showing off amazing sword work. He slashed at the dragon, then covered his blade in dark purple flames and drove it into one of the dragon's heads, saying confidently that this is how an S-ranker fights. But the dragon survived and hit back with a cursed poison attack that not even even a recovery potion could heal. Yoon quickly used a giant shield to protect his brother, but broke his sword in the process. Our F-ranker started to wonder if Yoon was struggling because of him, feeling like a burden. His thoughts were cut off when his brother yelled, asking why he came back to the dungeon, especially after breaking his leg. His little brother scolded him, saying he didn't know his place, and was always making him clean up his messes. This hurt Eugen deeply. Frustrated, he forced himself to stand despite the pain and spoke harshly, letting out his anger. Filled with frustration, he asked his brother if he was tired of him. Pulling out a sword in the heat of the moment, Yoon shouted, asking what he was doing. But our hero, consumed by madness, rushed at the dragon and stabbed it, making it angry. He dropped the sword, telling his brother to just let him die so he wouldn't be a burden anymore and wouldn't even have to worry about his funeral. As the dragon got ready to attack, he asked his brother to stop caring, saying everyone would be better off without him. Yoon charges in at the last second, acting as a shield to save his brother. As Yoon lies injured on top of him, Big Brother wonders where they screwed up to end up like this. Our F-ranker's mind drifts back to the day their folks passed, remembering how in those moments of loss, the two brothers only had each other and cared for one another more than anything else. Seeing his little brother on the edge of death, he screams at him in desperation with the little strength he has left. Yoon tells our hero to listen up. He explains that the Dragon King naps for 5 hours, and based on that, he only needs to tough it out for 1 more hour by hiding. Eugen, still not buying it, struggles to figure out what's going on. His mind races, remembering the sting of being blown off by his brother who didn't even show up when he was in the hospital. None of this makes sense to him, and he asks Yoon why he's grinning at such a messed up moment. His little brother, still managing a weak smile, hands over a gate stone to his brother, telling him to use it to bounce. But being a big brother, he refuses, saying Yoon should be the one to use it. But with a quiet smile, Yoon tells him he couldn't even fire up the stone the way he is now. With those last words, Yoon kicks the bucket. In that sad moment, our hero's hidden skill kicks in. All of his little brother's powers and moves jump to him, doubled. Our F-ranker, now tougher than the baddest hunter, holds his brother in his arms and carefully sets him down in a safe spot. He feels the power rushing through him and sets a spear ablaze with dark, purplish flames. Getting up despite the pain, he pokes one of the dragon heads, saying he's twice as strong as his brother. He easily hacks off the dragon's neck like it's nothing. With his brother's power running through him, our hero also gets a ton of memories. He learns that Yoon, even though he was super strong, had always kept his distance because he was worried. The little brother was scared their bond might become a weak spot, making him a target for folks who meant them harm. He remembers when Yoon told his crew to keep an eye on him closely when the F-ranker was hurt. His brother felt a heavy load of guilt, blaming himself for not being there to protect him. In a total meltdown, he laid into his staff, demanding they do something about the jerks who had messed with his brother. As our hero keeps hammering the dragon, memories of his brother flood his mind. He gets it now, that Yoon didn't hook him up with a healer not because he didn't care, but to keep him from getting mixed up in another dungeon. Underneath that tough shell, the little brother had always really cared about him, carrying the weight of guilt for not being able to protect him. With one last hit, the dragon goes down, but as tears stream down his face, he grapples with the painful question of why his brother kept him in the dark. He waits for death as the moment for his hidden skill wraps up, knowing a shrimp like him can't last in the poison gas. Before he bites the dust from the poison gas, a system pops up saying he's pulled off something impossible and earned the title of Dragon Slayer. He scores 10 gate stones, a crimson dragon sword, and a surprising wishing stone that can make a wish come true. In that moment, he thinks about bringing his little brother back, but the system tells him you can't raise the dead. He blows off thinking about wishing for more power or fame, and staying humble, decides to turn back time to before his brother died. He swears to live a chill life, making sure he won't be a pain to anyone. And a part of him is scared he'll regret it, but he's set on going through with his wish. He closes his eyes, and when he opens them, he finds himself sitting on a couch, realizing he's inside his brother's guild building. He tries to pull up his status window but can't. He checks his phone and sees he's 5 years in the past, wondering why he ended up in this exact spot. Suddenly, he remembers that this is the very day he goes to the Awakening Broker. He goes there not realizing it's a ripoff and, as a result, gets yanked into his brother's building. Just as the door opens, his brother walks in and starts ripping into him for doing stupid stuff. Tears well up in our hero's eyes, and he rushes towards his brother, giving him a big hug. Relief washes over him seeing his brother alive, and he keeps saying sorry for feeling like a total bust. Ewan asks if his brother has landed himself in even bigger hot water. Eugen says no, explaining that he's come to understand what his brother has put up with, and how rough it's been for him to handle the dungeons and the guilds. He also promises Yoon that he won't cause him any more grief. His brother hugs him back, saying thanks for sharing all of this. Our hero feels a wave of relief as he talks from the heart, remembering the bond they share. He tells his little brother how much he loves and cares for him. However, just as he promises to ditch everything about the hunter business, a system notification pops up telling him he's awakened. This time, he gets 2 titles, the Perfect Nurturer and the Dragon Slayer. He also picks up an extra skill called My Kid is the Best, which boosts his little brother's growth speed by a huge chunk. His little brother tells him to chill while he takes care of cooking. Yujin remembers that before heading back to the past, he had duked it out with his brother on this very day and bolted. Now he feels happy that this time, not only have they made up, but they're also about to grub together. He opens his status window to check out his stats, still a bit in disbelief as he never thought he'd wake up again. As he checks out his Dragon Slayer title, he wonders if it was given because of his fight with the Dragon King Railer. It feels weird to him, as the title should have been trashed when he turned back time. Plus, his title is Legendary Rank, which blows past the usual S rank. As soon as he touches the title, 4 skills open up. Turns out he has L rank resistance to poison, curse, and fear. The 4th skill that came with the title beefs up his abilities against dragon-type monsters. He gets hyped, guessing that turning back time has somehow made him the world's strongest. He pictures facing the Dragon of Calamity again, imagining himself shielding his brother and his timeline like a hero, bragging that the poison would feel like a cool shower to him. Unable to hold back his excitement, he eagerly checks his stats, expecting to see an upgrade to S or even L rank. However, when he finally looks, his hopes are crushed. Just like before, he's still stuck with an F-ranked body. Bummed out, he checks out his other skills, which are the same as last time. But when he notices his Nurturer title, now upgraded to L rank, he quickly taps it and finds 4 extra skills. The first skill is his old hidden Final Gratitude, which he hopes he won't need to lean on. The rest of the skills all have pretty dumb and goofy names. He checks out the skill My Kid is the Best, and finds that compared to before, it doubles the growth rate of anyone under its influence. The third skill, My Kid is so great, increases the stats of the person influenced based on how many people he praises them in front of. Initially, he thought he had become the strongest, but now he's determined to make his brother and all the hunters in his guild the best in the world. He imagines himself wealthy once again, but this time as the nurturer of the guild. While lost in the splendor of his imagined life, his eyes catch sight of the keyword, I love you. Embarrassed, he smacks his head against the table. It seems that after reawakening, the keyword has also changed. He envisions using the keyword casually and eventually getting arrested for harassment. Feeling disheartened, he turns his attention to his final skill, promising growth. This skill enables him to assess the expected awakening rank of the unawakened, ensuring that those influenced would awaken with their full potential. Just as he becomes deeply engrossed in the possibilities, his brother presents him with the food. Yugen thanks his brother for the meal and compliments him on creating such a delicious dish. Yuan, pleased by the praise, tells him to let him know if he needs more. Curious, our hero asks how his brother became such a skilled cook. Yuan explains that he developed these abilities while trying to survive. In his view, cooking one's own food is much safer, especially since he didn't have detox or antidote items back then, and there was always the risk of the food being poisoned. Yuan goes on to explain that during that time, he was working solo and had declared his intention to form his own guild, which led to many people opposing him. Our, still F-ranked hero squishes his brother's face, scolding him for not sharing any of the struggles he had been going through. Yoon responds with a sad expression, saying he had his reasons. He explains that he kept an eye on him from afar and deliberately avoided him to prevent others from exploiting him, even though it meant their relationship suffered. Yugen expresses that his brother should have shared his intentions, but Yoon counters, saying he didn't want to burden him and believed he wouldn't understand. He then admits he was wrong and tells Yugen he loves him, even thanking him for being so understanding. Our hero, or more accurately, the hero who creates heroes, blushes. He feels overjoyed at having reversed time and considers it the best decision he's ever made. As Yoon remembers chores he needs to handle, he gets up to leave, but not before reminding his older brother to delete the contact for the awakening broker. He makes sure Eugen deletes it and even double checks before departing. Our F-ranker waves goodbye, mentioning that he will also be leaving soon. Leaning against the door, Yuan informs him that he can no longer leave the house. Yugen feels confused and asks his brother to clarify what he means. Yoon explains that it is dangerous for him to leave the house. Our hero tries to reason with his brother, insisting that he has been living just fine on his own. However, his brother counters, arguing that the situation has changed. By getting closer to him, he has put his safety at risk, and now more enemies might target him again. Taking all of this into account, his brother suggests that he should live at his place. Feeling scared that he might lose all his ambitions, our hero rushes toward the gate, but before he can make a run for it, the house-moving department guy arrives to get his signature for the delivery. It turns out that his little brother has moved all his belongings to his place, leaving nothing behind. Yujin asks for an explanation, and his brother states that since he has already expressed his love and apologized, that is essentially the same as giving him permission to live there. Therefore, he wants him to stay. As Yoon leaves, his brother lies on the floor, feeling frustrated and wondering if this is a side effect of reversing time. He quickly gets up, realizing he has no time to waste. Hastily, he packs his most important belongings, planning to slip away before his brother returns. Just as he opens the door, he finds a large man standing by the entrance, guarding it. It appears that his little brother has hired Kim Sang-on, an A-ranked hunter and the most skilled defense user in his guild, to look after him and prevent him from leaving. Our hero feels irritated that his brother has assigned him an A-ranked guard. He tries to negotiate with Kim, claiming he just wants to go for a short walk and will return, but the large man becomes angry. Kim's intimidating expression makes our F-ranker realize that nothing he says will convince him. The pressure from Kim's aura overwhelms Yugen, but suddenly his fear resistance activates, calming him almost instantly. Instead of viewing Kim as a monster, our hero sees him as a docile, cute bear, standing face to face with the big guy. He asserts that it is illegal to confine someone in this state, and warns that Kim might end up in jail for such an act. The big guy doesn't budge. He grabs our F-ranker by the shirt and asks if he needs a beating. Feeling powerless, Yugen wonders how useless his skills truly are. As he gets thrown back into the room, he quickly analyzes his other skills, searching for something he can use. Suddenly, his promising sprout skill activates. He carefully observes Kim and realizes that he can potentially help him become an S-rank. Imagining two S-rankers, including his brother, in the World Edge Guild, he considers whether he could somehow awaken the big guy to S-rank. He concludes that he will first need to influence Kim using the flirty keywords he has acquired. He thinks that if he can influence the big guy, he might gain his freedom. Summoning some courage, he tells Kim that he loves him, gesturing love symbols with his hands. However, Kim finds his actions repulsive and throws him back inside. Desperate, our F-ranker begs the system for his keyword to be changed. As the day passes, Yoon returns from work. He finds his brother lying on the floor and asks if he has rested well. Gently, he picks him up onto his lap and asks if he likes this place more than his old one. Noticing his brother's sense of defeat, Yoon tries to lift his spirits, promising that he will let him go soon. He explains that once their guild grows stronger, they will face no potential threats, and when that time comes, Yugen can go wherever he wishes. Yugen reflects on the realization that if he listens to his brother, it could take him several years to gain his freedom. His little brother insists that he will work hard to make this happen in a year. However, our F-ranker knows it will realistically take 3 years for their guild to achieve this goal. Yugen envisions himself being taken for a walk like a dog. His face turns pale and gloomy, as if his soul has left his body. Putting pressure on his brain, he suddenly comes up with an idea. Before returning to the past, he focused solely on researching hunters, which means he knows exactly which individuals are likely to awaken as high-ranked hunters. He plans to track them down and influence them in his own way. By making them sign a contract in exchange for his support, he could easily secure them as his escorts. He envisions himself as a mafia leader surrounded by superheroes as his underlings. Feeling a surge of excitement, he quickly proposes to his brother that he will find him an A-ranked hunter. Kneeling on the floor, he declares that he will manage to find an A-ranked guard so he can move freely. While trying to stay safe, Yoon looks confused and suspicious, asking his brother if he's awakened, and if he has a skill to help him find or awaken higher-ranked hunters. Eugene feels swamped by all the questions. He pictures his super cautious brother, locking him up forever if he spilled the beans about having an L-ranked skill. Instead, he keeps that part to himself and only gives the bare minimum, saying he's just an F-ranker. He adds that his skills are only good for awakening one person a month. He actually convinces his brother, who figures Eugene won't be much of a target as an F-ranker. His little brother explains an awakening center is opening up to basically replace his skill, and that he has nothing to sweat about. Eugene remembers that kind of place being up and running before he turned back time, so he confidently says his skill is useless. It's all just a hustle to get his freedom back. His brother tells him to stay sharp, reminding him it won't be a walk in the park. Our F-ranker jumps for joy like a little kid who just won something. He brags about how clever he is, and sees himself as an even bigger guild boss than his brother. The next day, Kim takes him to the Korean Hunter Association to get registered as an awakener. The crowd gets all buzzed seeing Kim, and when they spot Eugene with the World's Edge shield, they figure he's some big shot, or at least an A-ranker. But that excitement tanks fast when they find out he's just an F-ranker. After getting registered, our hero decides to snag some gear. He checks the budget his brother gave him, and feels like crud seeing a number with 9 zeros. He then hits up the Hunter shopping mall, where he gets the VIP treatment, probably because Kim's with him. They show him all kinds of equipment, but it's too much, so he asks for something simpler. He spots some plain-looking black fairy earrings earrings and decides right then and there to buy them. He also grabs some leather gloves and a light fabric belt to bump up his stats. After that, he checks his stats, and they're about the same as a C-ranked hunter. Once he's done shopping, he decides to buy some contracts and potions. Kim, chilling by the car, asks where he took off to, sounding annoyed. Our hero snips back that he just went to the shopping mall, but the big guy warns him to tell him where he's going so he can keep an eye on him. He asks if he has anything else to do, so they can head home, but Eugene says he wants to check out a specific place. He remembers that the Ice Witch Park Yim lives nearby with a relative who runs a barbecue shop and looks after her. He tries to recall more about her, noting she awakened as an A-ranker and would be a middle schooler by now. Determined, he drags Kim to the food market looking for her. As they hit up every barbecue joint, he asks about her. He snags a piece of barbecue for himself and asks Kim if he wants a bite, but the big guy just gives him the cold shoulder. Kim asks why they're in a place like this when they can get way better barbecue at their own guild. Our hero makes up an excuse, saying the food here gives him this crazy urge to eat right here. As he's chowing down, a girl suddenly bursts out of a shop, yelling, looks like her uncle is chewing her out for something she didn't even do. Just as she's crying and running off, our F-ranker realizes she's the very Park Yim he's been hunting for. He shoves his food at Kim and uses his belt, a B-ranked item, to bolt after her. He zips through the crowd like a gust of wind, yelling for Yer to stop. He tells her he just wants to talk to her for a minute. The girl thinks he's someone her uncle sent. She calls him a juicy, which is apparently a term for a middle-aged guy, and tells him she's not coming back. Our hero playfully pretends to be offended by the age crack, but suddenly sees a car speeding towards the girl. Without even thinking, he races towards her, leaps, and bravely yanks her to safety just in the nick of time. The girl asks her savior if he's okay while sitting on him. She asks if he's some kind of hunter. Our hero, feeling the girl's weight on him, asks her to get off first. Our boy takes the girl to get some food, hoping to have a chat with her. His mouth waters at the sight of the sizzling meat, and he tells Yaram to eat as much as she wants. Eugene feels relieved he brought the corporate card, especially since Yaram devours the food like she hasn't eaten in days. He tries to ask her about her uncle, suggesting she might like eating at his place better. The girl says the food there tastes like garbage, and even tells him not to go, saying it would just be a waste of money. As Yar munches on some spicy pepper, she tells our hero to get to the point, noting that the brother of such a big guild wouldn't have anything to do with someone like her. Eugene, sweating a little, says he just gets good vibes from her. The girl thinks he's from some creepy cult and tells him she's not interested. She thanks him for the food and starts to leave. To stop her, our hero spins a ridiculous yarn about how his parents helped him when he was in a tight spot and he feels like he owes them. Surprisingly, the girl is totally bought and pauses, admitting most people stab her in the back all the time. Seeing she's paying attention, our hero finally gets to the point of the whole meeting. He tells her he has an ability that lets him help others awaken. He also adds that she'll awaken as at least a B-ranker, and since he's got the World's Edge Guild behind him, he'll help her become a legit hunter. Saying he wants to be her sponsor, he holds out his hand, asking her to sign a contract with him. Eugene hopes the girl takes him up on his offer and decides to step up his game. He pulls a contract out of his inventory and asks if she's interested in reading it. Jam jumps up excited, asking our F-ranker if that thing he just opened is an inventory and how he got it. He tells her she'll get one too when she awakens. He then hands her the contract, asking her to look it over and sign it. He explains the terms and conditions. All she has to do is keep his skill on the down low and be in charge of protecting him for a year. Our F-ranker happily admits how weak he is, but Yim makes fun of him, asking if he wouldn't be embarrassed having a middle schooler protect him. Eugene replies that once she awakens, she'll be way stronger than him, so there'll be nothing to be embarrassed about. The girl makes a sad face, asking if she'd be on her own after awakening. Our F-ranker nods, assuring her that all hunters are treated the same. Finding all her worries answered, Yim says she's gonna sign the contract, but our F-ranker immediately grabs the pen, telling her to hold up. He scolds her for not reading the contract carefully and asks what she'd do if someone took advantage of her not thinking things through. He shows her the contract thoroughly, stressing that it needs to be fair for her. He explains she'll also need a guardian if she's underage. Yaram gets ticked off and argues that her guardian is the very person ripping her off and shaking her down as she gets more anxious. Her uncle suddenly shows up, shouting at her for disappearing. Our F-ranker stands up, trying to handle the situation peacefully, but the man ignores him, forcing the girl to go back with him. Eugene tightly holds his arm, asking him to stop. The man finally notices him, asking if he's in a relationship with her. Thanks to the items, Eugene grips him tightly, causing intense pain, and questions who he is to get involved with her. Our hero glances at the girl's worn-out clothes and shoes, and tells her that he understands why she would be better off without a guardian like him. Feeling supported for the first time, Yarim vents all her frustrations, explaining how evil her guardian is. She reveals that the man took all her parents' inheritance and didn't give her a cent. As she loudly and openly complains, happens, people nearby begin to take notice, their attention drawn to the unfolding scene. They start to argue that all this counts as abuse. This enrages the uncle. He lightly pushes our hero aside to approach the girl, but our hero, successfully putting on an act, dramatically falls down. Our frail little F-ranker rolls around in pain, making a big scene about how the big bad uncle is beating him up for no reason. When the old man tries to defend himself, Eugene quickly wins everyone over, tears welling up as he claims he is just protecting Yarim. Yarim's uncle grabs our boy by the collar, but in a sneaky move, he knocks the old man off balance and sends him tumbling into some food. With a grin, my guy watches the old man slip on some soda, then slams his face into kimchi, giving his nose a fiery sting. Continuing his act, he bullies the old man. Yarim enjoys his play, as our dragon slayer hovers his uncle's face over a grill and threatens him not to scam his niece ever again. But while he continues dishing out justice, a loud thud catches him off guard. As the two of them look around, trying to figure out where the sound came from, his bodyguard rushes in with a warning. A Cthulhu-like monster is outside, throwing the city into chaos after breaking out of a dungeon. The bodyguard quickly tells them to stay back while he uses his Tetra shield skill to create a massive wall. Our hero wonders if there was such an event in his past life. Fulfilling his duty, the bodyguard leaps into the air and thrusts his heels into the monster, only to discover it is a swarm of multiple bodies. The tentacle begins to break down the wall, forcing everyone to run. Running in worn-out shoes, Yarim collapses. The monster's arms nearly grab her, but are intercepted by our hero's shield. Eugene instructs her to rush to a shelter immediately. Seeing her frozen in place, he takes her hand and takes off, but Yurim looks dissatisfied. Once they finally reach the shelter, our dragon slayer tells her to stay while he goes to handle the tentacle monster. He recalls that he's seen these colony-type monsters before, which only fall if all their bodies are taken out at once. Noting that his bodyguard has only defensive skills, he racks his brain for a way to eliminate the threat. But as he is lost in thought, Yarim grabs his arm and begs him to awaken her abilities. But he replies that she has yet to sign her contract. She insists that she's made her mind up and will keep out of danger, but my guy tells her that she's just a kid. He gives her a reality check that not everyone awakens with amazing powers right from the start. Haunted by his past mistakes, he's determined not to repeat them and takes off, reassuring her that he's got it covered, leaving Yarim speechless. Our dragon slayer draws on his 5 years as a hunter to hatch a plan. Thus, he calls out to his bodyguard and tells him to use his shield skill. Sunan replies that it is useless, even if he shielded a neighborhood, but my guy says that's exactly what he needs. So the two climb the wall and look down at the massive swarm. The bodyguard smashes his fist downward to completely enclose the beast in a giant shell, trapping it. Taking his cue, our dragon slayer leaps over the shield to find an opening. He remembers buying venomous A-rank pods for tough situations like this. Just as he prepares to throw one into the trap, he's stunned to find the area empty. Puzzled, he wonders where the monster escaped, when suddenly tentacles ambush him from behind. The monster grabs his ankle, emerging from underground, and lifting our boy into the air upside down. Our hero regrets not knowing that monsters can hide in sewers. Unsurprisingly, dungeons don't have those. But to his surprise, an umbrella-wielding lady comes to his rescue. Yarim distracts the monster, causing our hero to slip from its grasp. This time, she advises him to follow her down an alley, but our F-ranker starts lecturing her about risking her life as an ordinary human. Yarim, though, quickly reminds him of his own rank. When he tries to pull the age card, the sharp-tongued teenager teases him about wanting a little girl like her as his bodyguard. As they flee, he keeps up the lecture, but Yarim insists she must become awakened. She shares her happiness at having someone care for her safety, but also her frustration at feeling powerless to protect herself. She admits she wants to be strong, and not as helpless as she was in her childhood. Determined, the Ice Witch tells Eugene to believe in the potential he once spoke of. As this unfolds, the monster finally surrounds our duo. Out of choices, our nurturer grabs her arm tightly, causing a blinding flash of blue light to radiate throughout the city. Observing from a distance, Sunan is puzzled. Out of nowhere, Yarim is seen freezing the tentacles with her skill, Frosty Sigh. Seeing a panel reveal her S-rank, she brightens up and shares her skills excitedly with our protagonist. As she's lost in her celebration, the tentacle monster ambushes her, latching onto her arm. Crying like a little girl, the S-rank hunter uses her brute strength to smash it into the wall. This raises her confidence, so she borrows Sunan's black rod and thrusts it into the floor, giving rise to an icy projectile. Icicles fly towards our F-ranker, but he is swiftly saved by his bodyguard. Using the sandals of Hermes, her second skill, Yarim flies through the colony of monsters, exploding them with a destructive attack. So my guy calls her out, warning her not to take them out as collateral damage. Regardless, our nurturer is delighted to see the girl known as the Ice Witch wear such a pure smile on her face. He praises her incredible awakening, but can't help wishing she had a wide area attack to wipe out the whole column. Suddenly, a familiar voice answers his thoughts. With a vorpal flame in his hand, Yuan unleashes a massive explosion. Yurim stares in shock as our overpowered little brother incinerates the tentacle monster entirely. Sitting on the ground, our boy feels relief as his brother arrives just in time to save him. But Yuan gives him a look of disdain and immediately starts throttling him, ranting about how this is precisely why he locked our F-ranker up in the first place. Meanwhile, as Yarim withdraws from the fighting siblings, my guy introduces Yarim as his new S-rank guildmate. Eugene proudly brags that he has found an S-rank bodyguard, but his little brother questions if her parents consented. Scratching his chin, our guy tries to figure out how to explain the complicated situation and decides he'll just become her guardian. His little brother looks disturbed and suggests it might be better to be her sponsor. When he asks about the difference, Sunan explains that a sponsor doesn't get a say in their custodian's private life, so they can't shield them from a raw deal like a legal guardian who's kinda like a parent. Hearing this, Yarim asks our hero not to go so hard for her, but despite his little bro's judgment, he reminds her about her creep uncle and gives her the final call. However, Yuan grabs him by the neck and brings up how he's seen a bunch of minors jump their helpless legal guardians. Half joking, he asks if our boy could handle an S-ranker if she started throwing hands. Offended, Yarim insists she'd never do that. Yuan then dramatically declares he'll become her guardian, only for Yarim to shut him down on the spot. The two superpowered teens start bickering until Yuan hauls our protagonist away. The Ice Witch, gripping his arm way too tight, accidentally pops his shoulder out. They both say sorry, but our boy just brushes him off, suddenly going on the attack. Our big brother asks if he raised Yuan with such an attitude. He even adds that his little bro should be thankful he found an S-rank hunter. He even tells him to step up as guildmaster and lend a hand to the cool Mr. Place, Kim. Finally seeing Yugen shake off his clingy little brother, Yarim grumbles about her future guildmaster's bossy vibe. Not missing a beat, Yugen tells her to sit her butt down too. Humbled, she apologizes and checks on his shoulder. He waves it off, offering her his shoes instead. As he slips them on her, our hero notices her crummy uncle didn't even bother getting her the right size. Feeling for her, he tells her they'll snag her new kicks tomorrow. Cheered up, Yarim jokes that she feels like a rom-com heroine from TV. Getting into the heroine spirit, she tries to swat a fly off his head but ends up giving him a bloody nose. Our boy yells out, saying she's way more like a villainess than a heroine. Then, switching gears, he mentions how he can be nosy, having been in her shoes after his folks passed. He cops to wishing he'd had someone to lean on. As he starts to spill, she immediately takes him up on his offer to be her guardian. After cracking wise about the irony of him being her bodyguard, Yurim grins cheerfully as she fist bumps her new guardian. Then, out of nowhere, after saying he can't love her like her parents, our hero drops an "I love you" on her, which is his catchphrase, obviously. While the girl giggles at his weird line, a panel confirms she's under his wing, but to wreck the sweet moment, her fat uncle busts in. He goes on about how super worried he was about her safety, not even trying to hide that he just sees her as a money bag. Our hero realizes he's got one last problem to deal with. Deciding to mess with him, Yarim tells her uncle that she woke up as an S-ranker. Then she innocently adds that she's bailing since she signed a deal with our boy. This floors her uncle, who says she's only 16. She corrects him, saying she's 15, and my guy clarifies that hunters are legally allowed to move out at 14. The old man snaps that he's never heard of such a ridiculous law, right before Yugen plays a recording of his abusive behavior. Yugen then puts the squeeze on him, hinting that CCTV footage could be used to press charges. The two start duking it out over who's unfit to be her guardian. Losing his cool, the uncle swats at our boy's phone and grabs him by the collar. Tired of their crap, Yarim puts a stop to it by slamming her umbrella into the ground. When the uncle warns her not to hurt him, a civilian, she looks at him with puppy dog eyes. Instead, she begs her sweet uncle not to get violent. The old man starts blabbing again, but quickly zips it when he sees his niece snap the metal rod in two, making up her own story to scare him off. Yurim terrifies her uncle. The fat man wonders if she's still the little girl he knew or a monster. The scene even makes our hero's fear resistance skill kick in. Finally letting loose, Yarim confronts her uncle that she owes him squat. She warns him that nothing can stop her from squishing him like a watermelon. Grabbing him by the shoulder, she tells him she's only letting him go because he's not worth her time or energy. She adds that he'll always be trash and threatens that if he ever messes with our hero, she'll do worse than crush him like her umbrella. After they bounce, Yurim cheerfully asks our boy if her evil Yugen impression is any good, and with that, having found an S-rank bodyguard, he's finally free to split from the apartment. However, the next day, our sleeping hero doesn't get much rest as Yuan bursts through the door, leaving him wondering what's so urgent. His little brother demands the stuff he bought on his shopping spree. Our protagonist is stunned. He thought he was free to blow as much as he wanted, but Yuan clarifies he wants the A-rank venom pods. While our sleepy hero is scratching his head about how his brother even heard about the item, a sappy Yuan hugs him out of of respect, still leaving my guy bewildered. His emotional little brother thanks him for being ready to off himself if any enemies took him hostage. One last time, Yugen genuinely thanks his big brother and promises to guard him with his life. On the other hand, our hero, with legendary poison resistance, is bummed about not being able to clear dungeons with them. Not bothering to clear up the misunderstanding, our hero tells his little brother that he told director Seok to handle Yurim's uncle. He spills that after digging up some dirt on the fat man, they found out he blew through all his niece's inheritance on his crappy business. So they hit him with a contract, promising not to sue if he never contacted Yarim again. They even tossed him some cash to butter up the greedy guy. Yuan is surprised that Yarim doesn't want to sue him, so Yugen clarifies that she just wants to avoid him at all costs. He then confirms that she's been hitting the training room hard all night to get used to her powers. In the training room, the boys are greeted by a pile of rubble. Out of nowhere, a massive pillar crashes down, just missing our F-rank dragon layer. Yuan smirks, reminding him about that confident claim of being able to handle an S-ranker. Getting a feel for her new powers, the Ice Queen lands, shattering a punching bag. Yurim even tries out her Shadowless Day skill, which ends up freezing even our Dragon Slayer. She starts sucking in everything caught within her skill's range, only to smash it all again. While she proudly wipes her sweat off, a freaked out voice surprises her. The girl finds her legal guardian knocked out in the arms of his brother. Worried, Yurim rushes over to ask if he's okay, but he asks who she is in his confusion. Yuan explains that they gave Yarim a new hairstyle for her visit to the Hunter Association. She chuckles, noting that she'll have to doll herself up if she's making TV appearances now. The newly revamped Ice Queen admits she was testing all her skills before logging them and apologizes for not spotting our hero earlier. When he asks about the skill that got him, she mentions her first two skills and a new one, Shadowless Day. The multi-target skill seriously nerfs the enemy by literally sucking up their shadow. Plus, it even pumps up her own stats as she chooses. He figures out that the skill must be draining power from everything around her, which explains the busted training gear. Then she busts out a creepy ability, Pale Corpse, that lets her grill the dead. Naturally, our guy just rolls with it, acting all chill about her spooky skill. He tells her to keep that little trick on the down low and maybe leave some stuff out, so they edit some parts of Shadowless Day and her Sandals of Hermes skill. This makes her practically swoon over how smart he is, which totally bugs his clingy little brother, the jealous Yoon. He swoops in, claiming Yujin learned all this just for him, not for her, and just like that, those two start squabbling like little kids, both trying to get our hero's attention. Our boy's a little worried, wondering if they'll ever just get along. Scene change to the association building, which is packed with reporters. The Ice Queen makes her big entrance, while our Dragon Slayer hangs back, watching like a silent guardian. His bodyguard, Sunan, asks why he doesn't just go with her, remembering Yurim being bummed out earlier. But our hero, who's way too modest, just brushes it off, saying that once Yarim gets a taste of the S-rank celeb life, she won't even miss him. Still, he's genuinely happy to see her go from a shy Ice Queen to a happy girl in this new life. He also confirms that the dungeon break was a detour from his old timeline, which makes him wonder what other surprises are gonna pop up in this new one. Switching gears, he decides to spend the next few years scouting for potential talent. Just when he's about to throw in the towel, he spots something amazing. Without even thinking twice, he bolts, leaving his bodyguard in the dust. He shoves his way through the crowd and grabs the arm of another F-ranker, who's got the potential to unlock a double S-rank skill, Yang Wuyu. The F-ranker stares at our boy, like he's trying to remember a face he knows. Our guy just chuckles casually, pretending they go way back, and jokes that it's been so long it's cool if Wu doesn't remember. Meanwhile, he sneaks a peek at Wu's skills, noticing his mastery of the golden smithy. Light bulbs are practically going off in his head, thinking about all the crazy S-rank gear he can hoard, stuff that doesn't even exist in the future. He figures that even though Wu's clueless about it, companies would be tripping over themselves to throw money at this guy who seems so plain and boring. He immediately starts grilling the guy, so the guy explains that he just woke up his powers and came to collect his allowance. Our hero offers to train him, but he humbly says no, figuring nobody would hire a broke F-ranker, so our big brother happily offers him free training at his guild, which kind of annoys the shy guy. As his bodyguard drags him away, my guy promises to remember him. Sunan points out that the rules say only guild members can use the training room. Seeing the big guy, Wu can't help but wonder how Yugen knows the famous Sunan Kim of World's Edge Guild. So my guy, practically dangling by his collar, happily spills that his little brother's the guild leader, practically blinding Wu with his super friendly vibe. One last time, he offers the guy free gear and a shot at training. Even though Wu's hesitant to take such a generous offer, our boy insists, saying he just knows Wu's a good dude deep down. Surprisingly, Big Brother's persistent kindness actually gets to the guy, who starts tearing up and practically bows down in gratitude right there on the street. Later that day, our main character grabs Wu some vending machines machine coffee to help him chill out. The guy spills that nobody's ever been nice to him, not since he was a kid. He was really good at building stuff and even won awards, but as he got older, people told him crafting was pointless and pushed him to study instead. His life went downhill fast, and his family, who couldn't afford to support him, finally kicked him out, leaving him with a mountain of debt. Our F-rank hero gets a serious case of deja vu, having dealt with his own share of being treated like dirt because of his low power level and skills. He realizes that Wu's skills were never noticed before, because studying was the only path people saw for him. But this time, he can actually change the Double S blacksmith's destiny. So my guy stands up and gives him a pep talk, telling him to stop caring about what other people think and shouting some positive affirmations. He tells his fellow F-ranker to do the same, while secretly slipping in an "I love you" at the end to basically claim him, but they hit a new snag fast. Director Seo, the HR manager for World's Edge Guild. The director flat out refuses to give free training to a stranger, especially one who might not contribute anything to the guild. He even mocks Wu, saying people would complain if they made an exception for someone who looks so broke and spineless. While the homeless guy's hope is completely crushed by all this, Yugen vouches for his amazing skills. However, after complimenting his sharp eye for finding talent, the jerk-like director just blows him off, saying it was probably just dumb luck. The guy then reminds us that our guy fell for the awakening scam just a few days ago and then used family connections to get his way into the guild. Staying cool, my guy agrees with Director Seok's concerns but keeps pushing. However, after being completely embarrassed in front of his new friend, Wu bolts from the building out of shame. Outside, our frustrated hero considers calling his little brother, but Wu reassures him that it's fine, saying he's just grateful that someone actually values him. He reveals his plan to give his passion another shot, mentioning a place that's even willing to hire F-rankers. As they chat, a black SUV rolls up, carrying Wu's debt collector buddies. With that, our homeless friend thanks Yugen and says goodbye. The men happily welcome their friend and ask him about the allowance he got. Of course, it's not enough, so they drag him along for a so-called job. When our boy calls them out for taking advantage of him, the gangsters ask him why he even gives a crap. Sweating bullets, the F-rank Dragon Slayer says he wants to come along. Now squeezed together in the car, he asks Wu why he owes money to such shady guys. The homeless guy explains that no bank would give him a loan. Instead, he asks why our hero would come along when he doesn't owe anything. So he answers that he can't just leave his friend being dragged away by a shady gang. Seeing that they seem to know each other, the fat gangster asks about their relationship. So before Wu can spill that he's Yoon's brother, our guy cuts him off and says they're childhood friends. He even adds that as a fellow F-ranker, he's excited about the job the guys are hiring for. So a bald guy with tattoos says that unlike big guilds, they even let F-rankers come along to mine. Acting all innocent, our boy gladly accepts. Our boy jokes that they turned out to be pretty nice guys, so they all have a good laugh, before they coldly tell him to sign a contract. Smiling on the outside, our hero remembers how the mining contract ripped years out of his life, with up to 80% of a miner's earnings taken as a protection fee. The raid team just leaves miners to hack away, and sometimes stray monsters injure or even kill them. He can't help but feel bad for Wu, seeing his life being wasted and his potential ignored. The driver laughs, saying all they gotta do is pick stuff up, silently cursing these jerks. Our boy keeps up a friendly face. Finally, they reach the guild building in Myanmar. Yugen loudly compliments the amazing guild name. As they climb the stairs, our cheerful hero gets rudely kicked in the back. He gets up to see Wu, also getting beaten up. The bald guy apologizes to him, but puts the blame on Yugen for willingly getting involved. Our big brother holds his crying buddy in his arms, who keeps apologizing for getting him mixed up in this. But before he can comfort his weeping friend, our guy gets hauled off to sign a contract. The boss man shows him the document, saying he'll make a sweet 20% off his work before fees. Since he doesn't have any debt to tie the contract down, they spill that breaking the terms comes with a curse. Without giving Wu a second to think, they press his fingerprint onto it. Seeing this, our guy asks the boss for a favor. He wants a shot at comparing their contracts, straight up saying his should be better since he owes them zilch. His nerve cracks them up, and they hand over the contracts, laughing. Reading it over, he notices Wu's contract only gives him 10%. The boss laughs, saying it'll help pay off his debt. Totally freaked out, Yugen calls it a slave contract. He rips it up, swearing he won't let them rip off his friend. The gang stares, stunned that he's not cursed, his skill instantly ditching the curse. Our hero lands a quick kick to the boss's jaw. Seeing their leader go down, the gangsters freak, realizing they're up against someone heavy. With pride, our Dragon Slayer drops his rank, making them all charge at him, but he just calmly whips out his phone looking amused. The gangsters laugh, saying calling the cops is useless. To their shock, he'd been on the phone with his bodyguard for a solid 25 minutes. Suddenly, Sunan pops out from behind my guy, tearing the wall open with his bare hands. The muscular bodyguard busts in and sends the fat gangster flying. Casually turning around, he tells Yugen it's time to bounce. Meanwhile, his buddy Wu is totally bugging out, wondering how this went down, so he explains he secretly speed-dialed Sunan when he got in the car. From there, all he had to do was give directions, and Sunan handled the rest. Meanwhile, Sunan's busy handing out some serious beatdowns to the gang when a bald, tattooed dude tries to knife him from behind. Wu starts to lose it, but the bald guy's the one sweating bullets when his knife just bounces off Sunan's steel abs. Sunan mocks him, saying bringing a knife to an A-ranked fight is a massive screw-up, and then flicks him away like a pesky bug. One of the thugs suddenly pegs Sunan as part of the World's Edge Guild, and instantly orders everyone to hit the deck. When Sunan asks what to do with them, my guy checks out their contract and goes for a little tit-for-tat. Suddenly, the paper in his hand starts glowing gold. He hands over the S-rank contract, shocking his bodyguard. He explains he made it a 50-year deal, and just like the gang's boss, they'll only get to keep 10% of their profit since they owe him nada. When the boss cries about it being a slave contract, Yugen just rains more contracts from his stash down on him. Yugen feels for all the F-rankers who probably lost a limb or two, but the boss laughs, saying they're the ones responsible for signing on the dotted line so easy. Our boy kicks his greedy mouth and lays into them for not valuing life if it's an F-ranker. He tries to hammer it into their thick skulls that F-rankers aren't just throwaway tools, so he gives these ice-cold jerks a taste of their own medicine with his contracts. Just as he's about to split, the fat guy begs him to cut down their sentence to show some heart. Our caring hero pats him on the head and tells him to truly make up for his crimes. Later that night, after handing the gang over to the association, Yugen and Sunan head home with Wu, who suddenly starts tearing up and thanking Yugen for bailing him out again and again. Thinking about the cash he'd rake in from the shy guy, our protagonist shrugs it off like it's nothing, but this doesn't stop the awkward guy from hugging our F-ranker while bawling his eyes out. Back at the guild, our hero also snags a dorm room using his pull as Yim's guardian, and maybe physically blocking the crude director from going home played a part too. He offers the room to Wu, but soon their next problem pops up. Yugen asks his fellow F-ranker if he can cook and clean, since an outsider can't crash with him unless they're a maid or housekeeper. He does reassure him that he won't have to do chores forever, and he can use this workaround until he's on his own 2 feet. Of course, this gets him all worked up and brings the grown man to tears again. A few moments later, after putting him to sleep, our dragon slayer leaves to move his stuff from Yun's apartment, but at his door, he gets ambushed by a giant Sunan who tells him he's got something urgent to spill. The two hit up a buzzing restaurant with a weirdly pink vibe. When the waiter tries asking Sunan how many people he's with, the giant simp replies with the name Mikim, so the waiter bows instantly, changing his tone, making onlookers wonder if they're gangsters. Arranging the best dishes on the menu, the waiter bows again before dipping out, so our hero wonders why someone as old as his bodyguard would hang here. Sunan mentions he got a recommendation from his fellow Minikim for this good spot. With that, the man awkwardly tells our boy to kick back even as raunchy songs blast in the background. Yugen goes ahead and starts pouring his drink, but before he can, the man grabs the bottle to pour for him instead, suddenly apologizing as he does. Sunan starts opening up, admitting he initially saw our F-ranker as a pain in the neck to the guildmaster, but his view flipped after seeing Yugen's kindness and bravery. Thinking back to the dungeon break, his heroism in earning Yam's trust and saving her from her uncle, and his efforts for Wu, Sunan shows deep respect for our hero. Our protagonist smells a perfect chance to sneak in a quick, "I love you" to Sunan. The big guy perks up instantly, clearly touched, while Yugen plays along, totally taking advantage of the man's cluelessness. With a sly grin, our boy starts bragging about how he'd planned to take down the gang from the jump. Sunan warns him it's too risky for an F-ranker, but Yugen just laughs, saying he can never be in real danger, since his brother always has his back. On the topic of family, Sunan shares his childhood growing up without parents, raised by his grandfather. He spills that his awakening happened while trying to shield his grandpa during a dungeon break. Sunan goes on to hype up Yun's family values, mentioning how the guildmaster let him look after his grandfather, even hiring a healer for them. They keep enjoying their chat, and our boy decides to slam an insane number of shots, using his buzz as an excuse to use his keyword on Sunan. Sunan watches in shock, realizing he's downed a dozen bottles. He finally figures out that with his poison resistance skill, he can probably never get wasted again. Freaking out that he'll have to spill his guts completely sober, he frantically mashes the skill, trying to shut it off. Finally, it turns off, and the shot glass slips from his hand. With a flushed face, Sunan watches as our Dragon Slayer face plants onto the table, lights out. Hours later, Yugen wakes up with a killer headache. He's ticked off about his skill bailing on him at the worst possible time. Just then, he's stunned as Sunan walks in, bringing him a basin of water. Yugen bolts upright in bed, suddenly freaking out about why he's in San's room, especially since he's pretty sure he used his special move on him. So, as he's giving his handsome, supposedly loving bodyguard some serious side-eye, the guy drops the most terrifying question anyone can hear after blacking out, asks if Yujin doesn't remember jack squat about the night before. My man immediately screams he's totally not into dudes. Ignoring the outburst, Sunan offers him some herbal juice for the hangover. But then, the big fella starts rubbing his legs, and even offers him a golden pot to take a dump in. Finally, Yujin's had enough of the weirdness, and asks why San is going so ridiculously overboard with the caring act. San then reminds him that when he was plastered beyond belief, our hero had something super serious to spill. According to the big guy, he stared Sunan dead in the eyes, and dropped the golden words. But wait, there's more! He then went on to repeat how much he loved his bodyguard like dozens of times. This mortifying tale makes Yujin immediately hit the floor in apology, but to his surprise, Sunan confesses that it actually meant a whole lot to him. Apparently, Yujin's awkward drunken moment brought back memories of San's younger days, hauling his wasted grandpa around who would also shout his love for Sunan, letting him relive those good old days. San thanks him again, hearing that he just reminds Sunan of his grandpa and nothing more. My guy is totally relieved. The giant continues that he felt like he was hanging with his grandfather, so he wanted to go to some bizarre lengths to take care of Yujin, promising not to be so weird again. The sweet guy asks if it's cool if he just swings by occasionally to check in. Hearing the heartfelt story, our nurturer has a light bulb moment. His ability to be a custodian seems to make hunters feel more like they're with a caretaker instead of just a friend or lover. This also explains why Wu is like weirdly clingy to him all the time. With that, he says goodbye to the big teddy bear. Wu, who seems scared of Sunan for some reason, finally creeps out of hiding. Just as this is happening, Yim busts through the door, literally breaking it. She congratulates Yujin on moving in next door, but her mood sours seeing some homeless guy latched onto him. Meanwhile, our nurturer is lost in thought, wondering why he even got such a weird skill. A few days pass, and the three are chowing down on a fancy meal Wu whipped up. He says it's the least he could do for crashing there for free, but the jealous Yura complains he should be doing way more than just cooking while stuffing her face with the good grub. Shifting gears, Wu reveals that Sunan, who's been dropping by daily, is finally off on a raid. Yujin tells Yura she's gonna be famous when she starts hitting up dungeons. Being as smug as ever, she jokes about making a ton of cash just to buy a mansion and steal her guardian back from Wu. Yujin smirks playfully at the bickering duo, and to their dismay, he drops the bomb that they're gonna have to get along since they're heading to a camp together. Hearing the doorbell ring, our boy makes his escape from the two squabbling kids. Director Seok shows up in person to pick up the hunters due to some last-minute schedule change. So, our trio finds themselves staring down a mob of demons, armed with nothing but a big black pole. Our hero, totally freaked out, yells that basic training is supposed to be tackling one monster at a time. Director C just laughs, explaining that the more monsters they run into, the faster they'll get used to it. Yujin thinks this logic is totally whack, but the trio has no choice. Yim takes off, telling them not to sweat it. Leaping onto the monsters, she unleashes freezing ice that burns them. She then stabs a dead monster with the black rod and holds it up to our hero, asking if they could grill and feast on it. While the director is admiring the power of an S-ranker, a lady walks up from behind, asking if it's really appropriate for him to let newbies handle so many monsters at once. Adjusting his glasses, the director tells her to chill, saying he's more worried that Yujin and Wu won't even get a chance to fight a single monster. Just as he says this, Yim takes down all the monsters, piling them up like a Christmas tree. Suddenly, a monster still alive in the pile launches a surprise attack on the defenseless Wu. Our hero yells at Wu to quickly aim the spear at the monster, but panic takes over. In a total freakout, he throws the spear away and books it, tears streaming down his face as he runs for his life. Just as the monster is closing in on him, Yujin leaps forward, making a crazy save. Afterward, Yujin chews Wu out for ditching his weapon. He explains that these so-called monsters are just F-rank tooth moles, known for their terrible eyesight. He assures Wu that since the creatures only run in straight lines, he could easily take them down by just shoving the spear at them. Director Seok is watching the whole thing closely and figures our hero is way more experienced than someone who just woke up their abilities. He wonders if they're being kept in the dark about something. While guarding Wu and trying to calm him down, the boy praises his fearlessness, saying it's like he's been a hunter for years. This comment hits a nerve, making him wonder if he's overdone it trying to blend in. He tosses the spear aside, pretending to be scared as he lets the monster jump over him. The director, watching the spectacle, realizes he might have misjudged the boy. Maybe he's not the hotshot he initially thought. As the test wraps up, the trio heads outside. Wu looks bummed out, while Yim is so hyped, she seems ready for round 2. Wu apologizes to our hero for acting like a total wuss. Our hero reassures him, suggesting that fighting might just not be his thing. Yaram, feeling all bold, brags that she totally outdid Wu. However, our hero tells her to stop comparing and encourages them to actually get along. Director Seok then shows up, congratulating the trio for crushing their basic training. He gasses up Yim for her killer performance, while giving the other two crap for their not-so-great efforts. The director informs them that their classroom learning kicks off the next day, and introduces the lady standing next to him as their head professor, Seok Kyan. As she introduces herself, something clicks in Yujin's brain. He remembers she's the young genius who went to America and figured out how dungeons work. Suddenly, he remembers her famous nickname, Dr. White, and accidentally blurts it out. This totally grabs the lady's attention, and she gives him a once-over, curious how he knows that name, since only a few people call her that. The lovely Dr. White H. on comments on the F-ranker's knowledge, to which he casually responds he heard it from the HR team. This mention of the team sparks a thought in him, noticing that both the director and Dr. White have the same last name, leading him to figure they must be related. The lady tells him she's there for a research project and hints that their paths will cross again down the road. Meanwhile, Yuan and Kim just walked out of a fiery dungeon victorious after taking down a gnarly beast. As they check out the mess, they spot a baby monster chilling near the fallen creature. Kim looks at the tiny thing and asks what the heck they're supposed to do with it. Back to our hero. He's sitting in a lecture, listening intently as the professor breaks down the origins of dungeons and the rise of guilds. She goes into detail about stuff like dungeon breaks and dungeon shocks. As the historical info flashes on the screen, our F-ranker looks spaced out, getting all sentimental about the stories of struggle and bouncing back. The professor then switches gears to the nitty-gritty of Awakeners, explaining how their ranks are decided based on different stats. Yujin finds her explanations interesting and her teaching style pretty effective. However, he clocks some screw-ups in the slides, remembering that skills can totally shift based on a person's knack and what's going on around them. Seeing our hero's sharp interest, the professor wanders over, curious if he's snagged an error. She says he's got the same sharp eyes as her major professor, like she can peek into his head just by looking at his mug. Wish it was this easy to read someone's face, our hero says, laying out his thoughts that skills don't gotta pop up, only when things are dicey. He argues that just protecting yourself ain't the only thing that sets him off. He backs up what he's saying with solid examples. Seeing the prof's confused look, he quickly tells her to just forget the whole chat, but she takes his hands, real soft, and tells him his imagination got her. All curious, she asks him if he's rolling solo. Trying to ditch the professor's attention, our hero whips around to Yim, practically begging her to ask a question. Jaram, picking up on the vibe, plays along and asks about the kinda dough an S-ranker pulls in. The professor answers with pep, proud of how big a deal the question is. She spills that an S-ranker's yearly take-home is usually more than 10 million bucks. She spills more tea, saying how rare S-rankers are in the world. They don't just keep folks safe, they also grab valuable stuff from dungeons, like magic stones and sometimes even magic beasts. As the scene bounces, Yugen swings by his brother's place, who's dragged home a young magic beast from the dungeon. According to Yoon, it's a baby horned fire lion, and he's planning on breaking it in to ride it. The two brothers tussle trying to snag the beast, with Yoon grumbling about how he can't tame the thing. He goes on about how he's tried everything, even using taming hunters and an owner's token, but nada. Stubborn, Yoon gives the token stone another go. Just when it looks like the baby lion's finally calmed down, it suddenly springs at him, getting ready to pounce. Yu shoves his brother back and torches the beast with his flames to scare it off. Yugen yells at his brother to cut it out, scared he'll torch the cub. But Yoon tells him fire attacks don't do squat to this kind of critter. What happens next is a total cat scratch free-for-all, and after a lot of work, Yoon finally manages to snag the troublemaking cub. Even though he's totally wiped, he chucks the cub into the garden to keep it locked down. Breathing hard, Yuan says he's gonna get rid of the thing. Yugen asks if he means to auction it off. Yoon shakes his head, explaining that the cub'd have to be iced, cause it can't fall into bad hands. This bums out Yugen, who thinks about how perfect it'd be if the cub could be tamed. Yugen checks the cub's stats and tries to remember if anyone down the line has a skill that can tame a monster like this. Suddenly, a system notification pops up, letting him know the cub hasn't been messed with by his keywords. This throws him for a loop, cause he never planned on using his skills on monsters. His mind races with possibilities. If he can somehow wrangle the cub, his brother could have one heck of a ride. The idea of such a chance juices him up. Turning to Yoon, he casually asks if other guilds got beast mounts too, trying to figure out how rare such a creature is. Yoon tells him that yeah, a few monsters are around, but they're all low level, tamed ones. Hearing this, our hero gets hyped and practically begs his brother to let him handle the cub. He makes his brother get how big a deal having a magic beast as a buddy could be, stressing how valuable it could be. He adds that since the lion's fireproof, ditching it would be a total waste of potential. While trying to talk his brother into it, He throws out examples, all while picturing himself getting loaded as a top-notch tamer. His brother finally hits him with the big question: how in the heck is he gonna pull this off? Eugen, cool as a cucumber, starts by talking about the cub's chow time as step 1. He whips out a kibble bowl and just asks his brother what the monster cat digs eating. Yoon, playing along, says the beast would probably dig a meal of monster meat mixed with a C-ranked stone. At the mention of the C-ranked stone, worth a jaw-dropping 10 million won, all of our hero's excitement fizzles out like a dying ember. It becomes crystal clear that what the monster craves ain't just a simple meal, but the equivalent of a man's blood and his entire bank account tossed in for kicks. This ain't no joke, he remembers, recalling a caretaker once griping about how much even a snow leopard can wolf down. As our wiped-out hero offers the grub to the cat, his spirits suddenly soar when his brother casually mentions he'd be stoked to pony up the 10 billion won yearly for it. Watching the cub chow down, our hero can't help but think it's unbelievably adorable, making him blush. He starts to wonder if the cub can get certain keywords, or if his words might somehow click with the little critter. For now, he decides to leave that head-scratcher alone and move on to the next round. Playing with the not-so-scary cub, he whips off his belt and kicks off a game of tug-of-war with the magic beast. Luckily, having worked part-time at a vet clinic, he's got enough experience to handle stuff like this. With a smirk, he mentally dubs this game the tug-of-war of death. As he starts to wear out, he pulls out the tamer's token and flashes it at the cub. At first, the cub gets all riled up, but after sniffing the token, it suddenly chills out. And to add to his shock, a system notification pops up, letting our F-ranker know his title also beefs up the token's power. The cub, who was acting all fierce a minute ago, stops being a monster and gives Eugen a warm hug. However, when Yuhan steps closer, the cub promptly chomps his hand. No hesitation. Our hero scolds the cub for biting, talking to it like he's its mom. Yoon, being S-ranked, isn't hurt and is relieved the cub ain't aggressive towards his brother. In fact, he even agrees to let him raise it. This sends our hero back into his daydreams, where he pictures himself as the great-grandma of tons of magic beasts, earning the nickname the Magic Beast Tamer. Eugen tells his brother he'll take the cub after getting things ready. His brother then asks if he ain't gonna raise it here. Our hero explains that the dorm's big enough, and he's also got Yer and Wu there to help. This makes his little brother get all mushy, not wanting Eugen to ditch him. Our F-ranker remembers Kim's advice about his brother, and gently pats Yuan's head. He tries to make him feel better, explaining he's not totally moving out and will be using both spots. Eugen promises him that as soon as his newbie training's wrapped up, they'll have loads of time to hang out together. Eugen then asks if Yoon's free that evening. Yuan says he'll make time, but wonders why. Eugen tells him he wants to grab a drink together, remembering how things were before the world got all wacky. They'd probably be enjoying a holiday drink without a second thought. Yoon blushes and agrees to the proposal, adding a subtle warmth to the moment. Now our hero steps into the next phase, thinking about what to name the monster. After a brief blush, he decides on the name Peace, believing it should symbolize world peace. Soon after, the nursery trio is ready to enter the dungeon again, but this time they're joined by Yoon. Yam, visibly upset, questions him angrily, asking why he's tagging along. It seems Yoon just can't let his brother go into a potentially dangerous place alone, which is why he's there. Eugen feels a bit embarrassed by this, finding his brother's overprotectiveness totally weird and a little much. The crowd buzzes with excitement, snapping pictures of Yoon standing with Yurei during an interview. Their little guildmaster explains he wants to guide the new S-ranker, fulfilling his role as both a senior and a guildmaster. Meanwhile, our hero keeps his distance from the cameras, watching how his brother expertly promotes his public image. He finds the situation fascinating, considering both S-rankers have opposing attributes, making them an ideal combination. As he watches, he wonders when Kim will awaken as an S-ranker, placing a hand on Wu's shoulder and hoping he can create some impressive equipment soon. As it gets closer to dungeon time, the new crew is pumped to rent some free gear. Wu eagerly checks out the items but is taken aback when the guy in charge of weapons tells him he'd have to pay for any damage he caused. Knowing Wu will create much better equipment later, our hero reassures him by handing over a high-ranked piece of gear and telling him not to sweat it. While checking out the shelves, our F-ranker spots some potions and curiously asks if they're free too. He learns potions are only free for guild members, so he asks Yam to grab some extras and share them. After picking out the potions, Yam stumbles upon a nasty-looking weapon and asks if she can use it. Eugen advises her to ditch the axe for something better suited to her. Meanwhile, Yoon is still busy with interviews, talking up his guild and its members. Eventually, he approaches his brother, apologizing for the delays. He explains the gate leads to a D-ranked dungeon and warns that once they enter, the gate will close, leaving them with only two options: beat the boss or face annihilation. He even gives them a gate stone, a rare item for emergencies. Our hero reflects on how just yesterday he was considered trash, but now his life has taken a remarkable turn. Feeling a rush of happiness, he realizes this time he's entering the dungeon proudly, with his brother and the people who truly care about him. As he steps through the gate, he vows to stop the future he once faced from ever happening. Yet, it seems life still has plenty of challenges waiting for him. As they enter the dungeon, Yam's excitement is obvious. She exclaims it feels like stepping into a whole different world. Yoon, however, scolds her to stop acting like she's on a field trip, and to make his point, burns the grass in front of him. Yam, clearly frustrated, questions his logic for scorching the ground. She then starts lecturing about environmentalism. Yoon calmly responds, explaining things are different here. He points out a monster lurking nearby, reminding her that the first priority when entering a dungeon is to make sure she's safe. He explains the strongest person always has to lead and clean things up for others. With a teasing tone, he asks if she was sleeping during her lectures. Yam, with a hint of defiance, insists she attended all of them, quickly adding she doesn't have an AoE skill to help her. Yugen encourages her, promising she'll get a skill when she levels up. He explains if she keeps grinding monsters, she'll hit level 10 before she knows it. However, he also mentions no one can predict what skill someone might get. Just then, his system panel pops up, giving him the option to choose which skill he wants for her. He searches for the Pale Rain skill, remembering it was the signature AoE skill of the Ice Witch before he came back in time. Focusing the growth on a single skill for Yam, he confidently tells her he has a hunch she'll learn an AoE skill once she levels up. Yoon, standing beside her, tells Yam that leveling up isn't as easy for her, noting that S-rankers need a huge amount of experience points to level up compared to lower-ranked folks. He then loudly points at her, reminding her to take care of herself, emphasizing he's specifically there to guard his brother. Yugen jumps in, asking Yoon to chill out a bit, but despite him stepping in, the two S-rankers keep bickering, their friendly rivalry adding a layer of tension. Annoyed by their constant squabbling, Yugen pulls their cheeks and demands they stop right away. He questions why they even came into the dungeon and tells them to focus on the mission instead of fighting. He advises them to act nice, just like they did during the interview. Reluctantly, the two make up for the sake of our hero. Shaking hands, our F-ranker urges them to stay alert and reminds them that if they help him and Wu level up, they can also learn some new skills. Hearing this, Yam and Yoon dash towards the monsters, vowing to take them down for Yugen so he can easily finish them off. As they both attack at the same time with their opposing attributes, an explosive clash happens, lighting up the dungeon with a brilliant show. The scene then shifts to a weird place where the people seem aware of our hero and his ability to reverse time. One of them urgently tells another to find him quickly, noting he's entered a dungeon. It becomes clear the only chance they have to contact our hero is when he ventures into a dungeon, making this moment crucial for their plans. As the scene shifts back to the peaceful-looking dungeon, Yam is seen charging forward, freezing everything in her path. Meanwhile, our little brother is busy burning the monsters, competing with her to help Yugen. The two competitors pile up the half-dead, half-alive monsters. Our hero quickly leaps into action with his spear, handing one over to Wu so he can also get some experience. As they shake hands, Wu wonders if he too could get a good skill upon leveling up. Our hero reassures him, telling him to stop worrying and confirming he'll definitely get one. However, as he checks Wu's status, he finds another condition needed for the skill. He quickly glances at the system and zones out, noticing it requires Wu to sharpen 10 tools. Unbelievable. A typo appears, leaving our hero confused and wondering if these tasks are being written by hand. Before long, Wu reaches level 10. The poor guy bows his head in disappointment, realizing he hasn't gotten anything for his efforts. Meanwhile, Yugen is still stuck on the bizarre typo. While the people of this world think the new system is a miracle from Lord, the recent glitch makes him wonder if another creature might be behind it. Yuan and the Ice Witch approach our hero, asking if he's finished and reached level 10. Yugen responds that Wu is totally prepped, but he himself needs a little more seasoning. All of a sudden, a weird panel pops up yelling, "Found you!" Our startled hero wonders what the heck it is, but before he can wrap his head around the situation, the two S-rankers barrel toward him, screaming for him to watch out. The Ice Witch, Yarim, is lightning fast, shielding them from the flames blasting their way. Our F-ranker, completely lost, asks what's going on. Yarim explains that a boss monster has shown up. What's wild about this is that bosses in D-ranked dungeons usually don't whip out such beefy AoE attacks. Yarim keeps going, mentioning there was a giant goat monster boss, but suddenly a bird monster swooped in and snuffed it. She yells, freaking out, asking what they should do and why the gate hasn't opened even after the goat boss got wiped out. Yoon figures it's possible the birdie got tagged as the stand-in boss, meaning they can't bounce until they take it down. Worried, Yoon admits he's never tangled with a creature like this before. He shoves a gatstone into his big brother's hand, telling him to bail if things go south. Our hero zones out, spooked at the idea of a rerun of last time, but he ends up turning down the gatstone, confidently telling his brother the monster doesn't stand a chance against him. He sizes up the beast, noting its name is Golden Beak Maya and it's an A-ranked fire attribute dungeon boss. He fills Yoon in that the skull is the Golden Beak Maya's weak spot, explaining that smashing its wings won't do squat since it's rocking an extra pair. Yoon asks his brother how he got all this info. Our F-ranker replies he'll dish once they're out of here safe and sound. Set on getting out together alive, he tells Yoon to whip up an ice shield. As the icy wall starts to form, he tells his brother to go all out, getting ready for the fight that's about to drop. Yoon insists on handing the Gatstone over to his brother before jumping into the fray. Yerim questions if she might have been a better pick since she can fly, but Yugen counters that she'd just end up getting roasted. Yugen knows his brother not only has fire resistance, but also a skill kinda like flying. Meanwhile, Yoon waits for the monster to drop and instantly slashes at one of its wings. Our F-ranker yells at him, urging him not to aim there, reminding him the monster's got backup wings. The birdie soars again and launches an attack. Our hero's confused, wondering why his brother's chilling on the ground when he could easily leap up and finish it off. He worries he might have messed up his read of the situation and that his brother hasn't learned his Blue Willow skill yet. Suddenly, the birdie zeroes in on our hero and the Ice Witch, making Yoon freak out as she sweats what she'll do if her shield can't handle the incoming attack. As the monster closes in fast, Yoon quickly uses his Blue Willow skill against it. Our hero chills out seeing it, but watching how his brother's using the skill, he yells, telling him he's not supposed to use that attack like that. He pushes Yoon to jump on the leaves. At first, Yoon's hesitant, but once he steps onto the leaves, he quickly gets the hang of it. The birdie torches our little brother in flames, but such wimpy flames don't stand a chance against him. With grit, Yoon whips out his blade and delivers the finishing blow to the monster. As he lands, our hero rushes toward him, asking if he's hurt. The little brother, hyped, asks how he knew the leaves could be used instead of flying. He thanks him, saying all he was missing was a flying skill, but now he's solved his problem. With the birdie down, the gate pops up, and the four of them head back to Earth. When they get back, the guild members spot their guildmaster looking rough and get worried, asking what happened. Yoon explains an A-ranked boss showed up and they should report to the association. Meanwhile, our hero expertly keeps his distance, trying to stay out of sight. All of a sudden, Kim is seen running towards him. He jumps and grabs Yugen's feet, asking if he's okay. This move grabs everyone's attention. Meanwhile, Kim's stressing if he'll stay useless once they get home. Yugen goes to check on his monster pet, Peace. Peace jumps on him and the two play together a bunch. Yugen wonders if this interaction is enough to sway the little guy. As he's sprawled on the floor, completely wiped out, our hero thinks back on all the weird stuff that went down throughout the day. And what bugs him most is that these strange happenings started in the future, leaving him wondering why they're already happening. He feels a wave of fear, wondering if all these screw-ups are a direct result of him hitting rewind. Initially, he blames himself, but then he throws all the blame at the system for not giving him a heads up about any consequences. He finds the system unfair, and just as he opens up the panel, a strange book appears in front of him. Turns out, creatures from another dimension sent him a roll book. Checking out its fancy design, our hero wonders if a kindergartner or something made it. He learns that only S-ranked influence subjects are listed in the book. It looks like the system wants him to influence 50 S-rankers. Meanwhile, Yoon comes out, asking his brother if he's doing alright. As the scene shifts, Peace is training against the rat monsters, having doubled in size in just 2 days. Our hero, recording his pet's progress, is decked out in armor. When Peace tackles him, his armor protects him this time. Just the night before, when his brother had asked what skill he got at level 10, our hero had told him he gained a taming skill. To hide his own skill, he makes up an excuse, saying it's an S-ranked skill allowing him to tame high-ranked beasts. Hearing it's an S-ranked skill, Yoon gets ready to cage him again. Yugen suggests they should use the skill to their advantage instead of hiding it. He proposes he'll not only raise the horned lion, but also several other beasts. If all the higher rankers in the World's Edge Guild get high-ranking beasts, the game of clearing dungeons would change big time. Now, back to the present. Our hero feels lucky the lion cub has finally been influenced. Since his system wants him to influence 50 S-rankers, he wonders if influencing monsters might be a better bet. Feeling tired after training his pet lion, he lays down, but Peace still seems to be bouncing with energy. Suddenly, Director Seok shows up, clapping his hands. He praises our hero for training, right after his practical is over. Director Seok praises our hero and bows down, apologizing for having been rude to him. He then clings to him, begging him to join the World's Edge Guild. This behavior annoys our F-ranker, who tries to push him off. He remembers how humiliated he felt in his future every time he bumped into this guy. The poor director does everything he can to win over our hero. Suddenly, our hero remembers that things could shake out differently now that Seok doesn't remember his past in this life. Taking on a bossy tone, he says it doesn't matter to him, since his brother will cover all the costs. Anyway, the director gets hyped and preps the contract pronto. Our hero throws in his own condition. He's registering entering as a regular employee, not a hunter. See, the plan is to stay unaffiliated as a hunter so he can raise beast mounts for other guilds and rake in the big bucks. He keeps going, saying he plans to be a golden egg among high-ranking hunters. If the World's Edge Guild tries to corner his skill, he warns that other guilds could come looking for him and might even poison his food or pull any dirty trick in the book. He adds that a golden egg-laying hen like him is better off not tied down to anyone. Slick fella, he points out that this way he can raise pets for every guild while keeping his own hide safe. In return, he asks the director to handle the back and forth with the other guilds. Director Seek is straight up speechless at first, but cracks a smile eventually, admitting he just can't outsmart our hero's schemes. Then he asks if he can snag a video for the negotiation process. While getting ready for the shoot, the director asks if our hero would rethink joining up once the World's Edge Guild is top dog. Eugen bluffs, making it sound like he might, but quick as a flash, he asks the director if he's recording this bit. Our hero then fires back, asking what the guild would even gain by recruiting him since he's already given him a hand. As the director, peace out, he smiles, realizing our hero still ain't got a clue how big of a deal he is. Meanwhile, our hero's rolling around on the floor with his pet, stoked about a sweet salary and social insurance. The director figures high-ranking folks often lose touch with reality, but unlike them, our hero's got this air of arrogance. He calmly predicts how things will shake out, and even knows how to boss negotiations like a pro. He wonders if the kid was always this sharp, and if he just missed it, blinded by his brother's crazy strong powers. Adjusting his glasses, he mulls over that while the guild was ready to take some punches, if Han Yugen stayed unaffiliated, everyone will be gunning for him instead, leaving the guild untouched. He wonders if our hero's clueless about the risks, or if he knows him cold and is trying to shield his little brother from danger. When the director drops the video, it goes viral faster than a cat video. The guild masters of the 3 top Korean guilds see it and make plans to swing by the World's Edge Guild, hoping to figure out if our hero's the real deal or just blowing smoke. Scene change, our hero's finally finished Pai's pen. He asks Pai if it digs the new digs, hoping it won't get too cramped for the cub as it grows. Yam and Wu show up, calling the little monster a cat. Suddenly, Yuhan busts in, looking like his hair's on fire, and asks his brother if he's got a minute. He tells Eugen that the guild masters are coming to see him. Walk into the meeting room. Yuhan says Eugen can ditch the meeting if he wants, but Eugen insists he wouldn't do that. Yuhan argues that low rankers usually don't bump into S rankers and swears he'd just tell him to beat it. However, Eugen tells him not to sweat it and forbids him from using any words like but or even so. That could back up his argument. As the two step into the meeting room, all the guild masters are already there. The vibe's tight, kicking in our hero's fear resistance. A dude in a purple 3-piece suit asks Eugen to show him his hand, saying he wants to appraise him. Eugen's just about to stick out his hand when he suddenly remembers he can't let that fly. He snatches his hand back fast, arguing he can't just lay himself bare like that. He pictures his brother tying him up once his L and S rank skills were out in the open. Lucky for him, the cub leaps on the appraiser, getting feisty. Our hero scrambles to chill peace out. The Hunter Association president and the Hyungin guildmaster start going at it about whether the cub acted like that cause it sensed the skill being used. Watching the ruckus, the Breaker guildmaster, Moon Huna, says the beast's behavior is proof enough, making the appraisal pointless. She then offers our hero a chair. As he looks at her tower in height, our F-ranker wonders if Yim will also grow taller than him. The giant lady asks Yuhan if he can track down another horned lion for her. Our little brother shoots back that he would, but only for a top-tier beast mount with cold resistance. She catches on quick, teasing him that he definitely wants it for Yam and calling him greedy. The MKC guildmaster, Choi Se-oyang, gripes that the World Edge Guild has already cornered all the beast mounts on the market. Yuhan, ticked off, tells him he'll just have to wait until Choi snags one from a dungeon. This sets Choi off, and he slams his fist on the table and pops up, shouting that Eugen is playing them all. He states, it's bleeding obvious Eugen is unaffiliated with his brother's guild in name only. Lady Moon tells Choi to cool his jets, but our hero stands his ground. Rising from his seat, he declares that his connection with his brother's guild is just a partnership since he can't handle all the costs solo. He states that if he'd planned to cozy up with his brother's guild, he never would have set foot here. He adds that considering his own limits, he'd be able to raise at least one beast for everyone in the room. Despite his best shot at swaying Choi, it's clear Choi ain't someone easily convinced. Meanwhile, Huna praises our hero for his killer negotiation skills, even inviting him to join her own Breaker Guild. Noticing his brother looking like something the cat dragged in a ways off, our hero quickly shouts that he ain't even considering a premium sale. He clarifies that he wouldn't join any guild unless his brother invited him after his guild becomes the best in the country. Hearing this, the Jupiter guild leader, Sun Hyun, argues that they're already the best in the country. Our hero swiftly counters that his previous offer was just for his brother. For any other guilds, they'd have to be at least the best in the world for him to even think about their offer. Lady Moon slaps our hero hard on the back, calling him confident for his size. Seeing how stubborn he is, she comments that he truly is Yuhan's brother. In that moment, our hero feels like a tiny bug in a pool of whales. If it wasn't for his fear resistance, he would have folded ages ago. He gives props to his brother for having dealt with these heavy hitters until now. Park also praises our hero, arguing that he's way more mellow compared to his brother. Yuhan jumps in, saying he can't agree because, in his book, his brother's probably the most chill person in the whole room. Everyone makes weird faces at our F-ranker, making him feel awkward. To clear things up, our hero starts spilling a heartfelt story. He explains how his brother's always been his irreplaceable little brother, one who consistently looked out for him even when he was just a little squirt. He shares that Yuhan busted his butt to get into medical school, promising to make a ton of cash for both of them. He adds that despite his best intentions, he could never give his brother enough time, especially after their parents kicked the bucket and he had to pick up the slack with work. But through it all, his little brother never gave him any trouble. As he spilled the story, the group cracked up. It was clear just from looking at his brother why he was standing there so damn polite. Yujin felt a rush of anger towards the guildmasters and asked the lady if she was just busting his brother's chops because he was young. The association leader and Park were trying hard not to lose it at the scene playing out. When the contract got passed to him, Yujin snatched it with a rude jerk, confused by how everyone was treating his brother. Lady Moon explained the guildmasters had cooked up a deal before the kid even showed up. She told Yujin to take a look at the contract and let them know if anything needed tweaking. While reading, our hero found out he was getting a building with safety guaranteed by all the guilds involved. Lady Moon, looking stumped by his reaction, asked if Director Seok hadn't mentioned any of this. The association leader cleared things up, saying the director specifically asked for a building in Yujin's name, knowing he'd need a spot to raise monsters. As our hero went over the whole contract, he started feeling more and more antsy. When he hit the part needing his signature, he couldn't believe he was about to own a whole building in the heart of Seoul. The excitement hit him hard, and he got lost in thoughts about how his new place would be protected by the country's top 5 guilds. He even started figuring out how to set up a gear workshop for Wu, and wondered if he could talk Hyen into doing her research there instead of trekking all the way to America. He pictured himself being interviewed about his rags to riches story, showing off his quick jump from construction grunt to millionaire landlord. Not only did he picture this, he even planned his retirement by renting the building out. As the F-ranker snapped back to reality, the guildmasters were already heading out. Guildmaster Su told him the offer was still on the table if he had a change of heart. With the meeting ending all of a sudden, the two brothers chatted it up. Eugene told his big brother not to give a damn what other people thought. Our hero gave his cub a hug for acting so damn well. As the scene changed, Wu laid out a feast for our hero. Eugene loved the grub and scarfed down every bite. He asked if Wu didn't have much stuff and told him to get ready to move out. Wu freaked out, thinking he was about to get the boot, and flopped onto the floor, bawling. He blubbered that he always knew he'd end up like this, feeling useless the whole time. Our F-ranker tried to make him feel better by saying they were both F-ranked, but Wu took it personally, saying even so, they were on completely different levels. Eugene tried to comfort Wu, but Wu wiped his tears and thanked our hero for everything, saying he'd pack up and leave. Right then, Eugene realized what had just happened. He told Wu there was a mix-up and insisted he wasn't useless. He even promised Wu he'd get a good skill soon. Finally, our F-ranker pretended to give up the argument, claiming he couldn't make Wu be on his side. He messed with Wu, saying he just learned something super useful, but since Wu was leaving, he couldn't share it. Wu fell for the bait and insisted on knowing the info. Our hero cooked up a story, claiming he heard from Dr. White that there was a special training that might help Wu get a special skill. Meanwhile, Dr. White, Hyen, was busy doing her research in the shadows during the night. She just finished her work, hoping to dig up some answers. The scene jumped back to our F-ranker, who had bought a ton of knives for Wu. He told Wu he couldn't share anything he learned with him, not even with Dr. Hyen. Wu looked confused when he figured out he'd be sharpening a bunch of kitchen knives. As Wu sharpened one of the knives, our hero checked his status and saw the number went up by 1. He then tried to fire Wu up, telling him he'd get an awesome weapon-related skill if he sharpened 0 of these knives. Wu blushed, feeling a burst of excitement. Our hero thought it would take him a year to finish this, but in his excitement, Wu claimed he'd be done in 100 days by sharpening 100 knives a day. He promised to pay back our hero's kindness when he could. Little did Wu know, to Eugene, he was just retirement asset number 2. After this, our hero visited Dr. White's lab. Hyen seemed thrilled to chat with our F-ranker and talked with him for hours. She explained that according to research, mass dungeons were wildcards, and not many people bothered researching them for that exact reason. Our hero, trying to keep up, pointed out they should be short on info since there were only a few dungeons in the country. Dr. White agreed, saying that was because their country was pretty small. She added that she could put together some stats if she could check out more dungeons, and according to her, the only way to do that was to join a team overseas. This sparked a memory for our hero, making him realize that was why she planned to split for America. For the past 3 years, she'd been figuring out the rules of dungeons, and America would benefit from what she found. He wondered if there was a way to make her stay. Hyen then grabbed some buckwheat jelly and put it near the window, explaining that Dokebi liked it on the last night of the lunar month. Curious, our hero asked about this mysterious figure she was talking about. Hyen told him that Dokebi was a mythical teleporting hunter, and as the name suggested, this particular hunter wore Dokebi clothes. Dr. White went on to explain that neither their name nor their gender was known, which was why the pronoun them was used. The only info available was that they could teleport and had been using their skills to save people from dungeon breaks and all sorts of natural disasters. No matter how tough things got, Dokebi had always managed to deal with gangsters. Their skills made them hard to catch, and they had never pissed anyone off in the world because they helped everyone while staying independent. Everyone loved them. Looking up how to call them online, Dr. Beksani, White hoped that Dokebi would show up and spill the beans about all the dungeons in the country. As she sprinkled the buckwheat, our hero started thinking she was a little nuts. He questioned whether this legend was even real to begin with, and suggested she should get info from his brother's guild instead. Suddenly, the power went out. Our hero quickly pulled out his device to turn on the flashlight. When he called out to Dr. White, he found her frozen solid, like she'd seen a ghost. She screamed and passed out. Our hero picks her up and feels a surge of fear when he sees a real ghost. His fear resistance kicks in instantly, calming him down. He wonders if it's a Dokebi playing tricks and calls out their name. Hearing this, a Dokebi appears in front of him. The figure resembles a man and states that he is here because he has been summoned. He then expresses concern that he may have gone a bit too far with his tricks and frightened the lady. Our F ranker quickly glances at his status menu, discovering that the Dokebi is a B rank hunter named Yunyun. He contemplates whether he can influence Yunyun, considering he is unaffiliated. Yujin quickly thinks of an idea. If he could get this Dokebi to help them, Hyun wouldn't need to go to America. He sees this as his only chance. He tries his wordplay, telling Yunyun to quit the prank, asserting that it wasn't scary at all. Yunyun replies that he just saw our hero trembling in fear. However, Yujin refuses to accept this, arguing that such childish tricks won't work on him. He deliberately steps on Yunyun's nerves, asking if he has dedicated his life to scaring people. Our hero holds out his hands and proposes a bet, challenging Yunyun to see if he can scare him or not. As the scene shifts, the lady awakens, sweating bullets. She asks where the Dokebi went, only to learn that he disappeared. Our hero confides a secret to her. The legend's fashion sense is pretty trash. After an awkward silence, our boy reassures her not to be afraid since the Dokebi is gone. She looks down in regret, hoping to have her questions answered. She shares her struggle to continue research in Korea, so our hero offers to help her. She is thrilled, thinking he will join her at the university, but he quickly calms her down, clarifying that he can provide her with data instead, as data acquisition is her biggest hurdle. With confidence, he declares that he will soon have a reliable source of information. Yujin's memory flashes back to a while ago when he made a bet with the Dokebi. While the science lady lay unconscious, he had dared the Dokebi to scare him with his pranks. If he won, he wanted the traveling ghost to be his underling. This makes Yunyun laugh at his laughable conditions, so the floating prankster accepts on the condition that our Dragon Slayer will have to be his underling for a solid 20 years. With that, our hero instantly materializes a contract, making the Dokebi suspicious as to why a loser would bind himself so easily. Tilting his head, the floating ghost accuses Yujin of having bad intentions with his strange bet. Sweating heavily, our protagonist subtly confirms that the Dokebi is still unaware of his legendary fear resistance, which is key to securing his easy win. To satisfy the masked ghost, he confidently unveils his hidden motive. Blushing, our boy admits that he thinks the Dokebi is really cool, remembering all the heroic deeds the masked figure has done. Yujin feels that he wins no matter what. If he wins, it would be awesome, but if he loses, he gets to be the great Dokebi's subordinate, making the naughty ghost blush. Drowning in compliments, the weird guy begins dancing in glee. He brags that he would never let someone be his subordinate, even if they begged, but the bet really tickles his fancy. Our hero assures him he won't lose, and they agree that the Dokebi will get 3 chances to frighten him. Returning to the present, Yujin tells the research fanatic that he'll get her the data she needs to work in her homeland, since he isn't a fan of crunching numbers at a desk. He simply asks her to share the profits of her research once she succeeds by using his information. Despite her hesitation about the project being unfruitful, our big brother expresses his strong faith in her skills. She blushes at his compliments. To win her trust, he tells her that a bigger ranked dungeon will appear that day, even giving the exact location and environment. Shocked by his info, she asks how he would know something something like this, but he refuses to delve into his sources. So, before taking his leave, he tells her to have faith in his words and confirms that her research will undoubtedly succeed. After reminding her to tell Director Seok to book the gate, he gets ready to destroy the Dokkaebi in their bet. The scene shifts to our hero relaxing in his room at night when a Dokkaebi jump scares him while wearing an Oni mask. Unfazed, our hero casually plays with peace, shutting down the first attempt, and the next time, while carrying a box of knives for Wu to sharpen, two undead hands tug on his feet, causing him to fall face flat on the floor. Fuming with rage, he asks if the jerk of a ghost came to kill him rather than scare him. After failing the second time, the third strike also comes at night. As Eugen grabs some water out of the fridge, a bloody straw puppet appears overhead. Surprised, he compliments the effort before being caught off guard by a second attack from behind, which also impresses him. Just then, a dreary man with a knife appears behind him. Surprisingly, this terrifies the Dokkaebi, while Eugen casually greets Wu. His fellow F-ranker shares that he started grinding since he couldn't sleep, but overheard our protagonist talking to the Dokkaebi. As his eyes spot the six-legged ghost, Wu collapses on the spot, foaming at the mouth, with the third attempt also failing. Our boy gains a legendary subordinate. It is explained that Dokkaebi are spirits born from old objects. When Eugen asks how he came to be, the Dokkaebi shares that he awakened in a pool of water below a dungeon, which granted him his powers. Hearing this story, our boy pieces together that the teleport skill works just like dungeon gates. But what shocks him most is that Yunyan, the Dokkaebi, is a real ghost. Using his knowledge of Chinese words, Eugen correctly guesses Yunyan's origin. Anyway, he picks up a tablet and briefs his impressed underling on his new job. However, the masked ghost glares at him silently. He then starts throwing a tantrum, refusing to do anything boring, criticizing how the Dokkaebi is acting with his boss. Our hero reveals that the ghost will travel to various countries to collect data from their dungeons. He tries to butter up the lazy ghost who can bypass restrictions with his concealment and teleportation skills. Unimpressed, the masked ghost asks what purpose this serves. Eugen gleefully replies that he wants to make the Dokkaebi a hero. If they knew more about dungeons, fewer people would die, and he would become a world-famous hero. He makes the floating guy fantasize about all the merchandise people would buy. With that, Yun snatches the device and bolts off happily. However, he asks if he really has to go to other countries. Curious, Eugen asks if he cannot travel that far and gets a negative response. This reminds our hero that he couldn't find such a skill in Yun's stats either. Suddenly, he shoots out an "I love you" with a dead serious expression. The Dokkaebi is taken aback and inquires why his boss would suddenly confess. Continuing his weird tangent, our Dragon Slayer begins making up nonsense about Dokkaebi being creatures of love, concluding that a true Dokkaebi should be accustomed to love. He tells Yun to always greet him with love. This strongly creeps out the masked ghost, who disappears out of embarrassment. The next morning, Hyun, along with her uncle, excitedly rushes to find Eugen. Our hero, busy playing with Peace, stares at the two in confusion. They begin talking, carrying him in the air to celebrate his amazing prediction. As Peace prepares to attack them, they put him down and explain that the slime dungeon, full of valuable green jelly, has made a fortune for the guild. The uncle and niece duo continues flattering our boy. Enthralled, the dungeon nerd lady promises to do her best to return his favor. The director adds that he'll put a tracker on Eugen for protection at all times, annoyed that even the director is stealing his freedom like Yunyan. So, our dude tells Peace to go ahead and rough him up. The other guys arguing they can't risk a big shot like Eugen getting messed up, but our hero's like, nah, focus the firepower on Hyen instead. Says she'll handle most of the heavy lifting, and he's just good with beast taming. Our protagonist bails pronto, freaking out about how to dodge pointless chores and keep his chill life. He knows his guesses aren't always going to be bullseye, and he doesn't want to get caught out in a lie, so he ditches the uncle-niece tag team. Weirdly enough, Hyen, bless her heart and her kinda snotty attitude, actually gives him props for being a real researcher, just wanting to pitch in without taking the glory. Cut to a flashy game show joint with a crazy maze for cats and dogs. The announcer's laying down the law, and Peace just zips through the thing like it's nothing, hitting the finish line in no time flat. The little orange furball busts through the ribbon and lands right in our hero's arms. The whole damn crowd goes wild, cheering for the beast tamer. Our hero's stoked about all the applause, glad he said yes to Director Seok's invite. He remembers the director being super serious, pushing him to get his face out there. The director, stroking his chin, had explained that being a known quantity worldwide adds a layer of safety. Our guy had gone along with it, but he still felt kinda weird about it, thinking back to all the crap before the time rewind. Anyway, as he gets his little buddy to crack a smile, everyone watching melts at how damn cute it is. is. Raving about his totally adorbs monster, Eugen's just grinning, soaking up the attention. Beast and Tamer duo start putting on a show, hamming it up. Finally, the show goes on break. Our man, totally content, is just sitting there, thrilled to have shown off Peace's cuteness to the world. He's already cooking up plans for a social media account filled with heartwarming pics to cash in on the fame, thinking about plushies and other merch. Lost in his little fantasy, he's picturing how cool he'll look as Peace's tamer when it grows up. Without even realizing who's nearby, he announces that anyone wanting an autograph should line up. Then, this tall woman cheerfully agrees, and weirdly asks if the autograph comes with a cute paw print. Eugen's eyes pop open, startled to see Huna. Still reeling, our boy asks why the hell the guildmaster is at his game show. She just casually drops that she's one of the 3 A-rankers posted there to make sure his cute little monster doesn't go bonkers and cause trouble. While the dudes around her are just staring in awe, she offers her hand to help our hero up. Like a true Sigma, he brushes her off and gets up on his own. Confused, she teases him, asking if he wants her to carry him like a princess, which just mortifies him even more. He tries to explain that being all buddy-buddy in public could lead to misunderstandings about their, relationship, but the big lady loudly proclaims that she wants Eugen to father her kids, scaring the living crap out of him. She asks if Eugen would be up for hooking up again. Pouting, he puts on a brave face. She admits that this just makes her dig him more. Eugen goes on about how he just sees everyone as humans, so he's got no reason to be scared. Huna just smiles wider, putting her hand on his shoulder. She tells him that while his view is kinda admirable, it's also a little worrisome. Just then, Jam shows up with drinks for them both, only to get hit with a surprise. The Breaker Guild Master shocks the audience by announcing, with a whole lot of charm, that she's borrowing him for a hot minute. As she says it, a whirlwind of magic energy wraps around our beast and tamer duo. Peace starts hissing. Our hero asks why she put up an airflow barrier. Huna laughs it off, explaining it's just a simple soundproof room. She assures him that a subordinate will clue in Yurim on the outside, but our hero's sharp eye immediately sees that it's way more than just a simple skill. He's not surprised Yarim couldn't do jack. Standing there, the formidable lady tells him they can finally talk in private. Sweating a little, he asks what secret's so damn important. Hyuna says it's more about keeping other people from listening in. When she brings up Yun, Eugen's face gets serious. She shares her concern, pointing out that Eugen doesn't even know what his own brother's up to. Peace hisses again, but Huna just blushes at how cute it is. Then she steps closer, giving our big brother a friendly heads up to dig deeper into Yuan's activities. She says she just laughed it off in the meeting, but she advises him to do his homework if he actually wants to work for the guild. She questions his judgment, wondering if he really believes his brother built a guild purely by being good at stuff. Lady Moon calls his view of Yunin something you wouldn't even find in kids' storybooks. Even though Eugen tries to stick up for his little brother, the big lady bursts his bubble. The guildmaster reads his mind out loud and calls Yun a saint, but then she says that a saint doesn't stomp on other people to boost their own guild. Huna then spills the beans on Yun's dark past. Huna kicks off her story by talking about her awakening, revealing how she had to ditch her sports career. That's why she was forced to become a guildmaster, a gig she never wanted. Totally clueless about running a guild, she partnered up with Choice Yokan, just to be the public face of the place. She explains that in Korea, all the top 5 guilds became pawns for big companies, all except World's Edge, run by Yu Hun. She remembers how the high school kid turned down every single investor, making a ton of enemies along the way, so she figured he'd totally tank. When she heard about him getting poisoned, she laughs now, thinking about how dumb she was for defending him. She'd gone to her investors to gripe about their shady schemes, only to find total chaos and destruction. She thought a monster was behind it until she saw the guy responsible. There he was, punching straight through his enemy's chest. A guy was begging for mercy, but Ewan didn't give a damn. When she called out, asking if he was okay, he lunged at her, barely giving her time to block. In the end, the Breaker Guildmaster then tells Eugen how World's Edge secretly wiped out each faction. Our hero, speechless, listens as she explains that this is just how S-rankers roll, and he doesn't know squat about it, living so far away from his brother's world. RF Ramler frowns when he finds out about his brother's dark side. The big lady then leans in to whisper in his ear, then the mischievous lady leans in close, whispering a warning in his ear. She cautions that it's just a matter of time before the monster he's hiding from his brother shows its true colors. As she's telling him to keep his distance, she gets a call from Ewan, saved as Crazy Bastard number 2 in her phone. With a cheeky grin, she offers to help our hero stay away from his brother, but our guy doesn't even flinch, fully aware of the messed up politics that twisted his brother's life. He snatches her phone, assuring Ewan that he's safe. Then his little brother asks if the big lady mentioned anything weird. Eugen pauses for a sec, then casually admits she spilled some wild rumors about him. Lady Moon looks bummed, but he gets it. There are messed up people in the world. He's not surprised by his brother's bloody past, considering his own hands aren't exactly clean either. And with a smug grin, our hero tells his little brother he's underestimated. So as a friend payback, he announces he'll talk trash about the big lady standing there all contentedly. When he brings up last April, her jaw drops in a panic. She snatches his phone like it's the latest iPhone and demands to know how the heck Eugene knows about her incident. She shakes him, demanding his source, but our dragon slayer won't budge. She threatens to kill him, but he just shrugs and points out she won't get a beast mount from his dead body. Eugene smirks, saying it's revenge for badmouthing his brother. He tells Huna to shut up, reminding her it's in their best interest. The big lady facepalms, saying she misjudged our boys. With a snap of her fingers, the barrier disappears. She's glad the supposedly timid guy won't get pushed around by other guild masters. Fuming, Yim interrupts them, running and angry that the big lady laid her grubby paws on our boy. But Huna laughs, saying it was just two adults talking, and warns Eugene never to let her secret out. Our lady's man watches from afar as the two S-rank ladies fight over him. Seeing their rough but amazing chemistry, he's alarmed at the thought of Yer possibly joining the Breaker Guild with the only other female S-ranker in the country. Thinking of his future knowledge, he remembers both S-rank guild masters disbanded their guilds. Feeding water to his cute little partner, my guy considers hiring the big lady, thinking she'd be a good friend for Yim. He jokes to himself that Yim could use a female mentor, but he nearly spits out his water when Yim boldly declares she wants him to father her kids to one-up Lady Moon. My guy immediately jumps in to pull Jaram away from the other crazy S-rank lady. As the show wraps up, he ends up saying something he'll later regret. Later in his dorm, Eugene watches in horror as his buddies laugh at his nickname, upgrading from Beast Tamer to Beast Daddy. The next day, our F-rank Dragon Slayer and his pal Wu carry rusty knives to the guild's equipment facility. Eugene laughs about getting banned for sharpening knives in the dorm kitchen and suggests Wu get friendly with the guildsmiths, who will soon be his new colleagues. The scruffy-looking guy agrees, saying that'd be perfect since he's no dungeon diver. Eugene just grins, knowing his buddy will soon be the top dog in the facility. As they step inside, they're hit with intense heat. They wander around checking the place out until Wu reaches for a dazzlingly bright magic stone, but a muscular guy yells at him to back off, nearly scaring him out of his skin. The buff guy scolds them, saying they shouldn't just waltz in like that. Eugene explains he's the one who requested workspace access, and soon enough, he and Wu bow to each other. The big guy then gives Wu a quick interview while leading them to their new station. Seeing a fancy grinder, Wu lights up, but the bossy buff guy says touching it is off limits before showing them to the dingy room he'll actually be using. Wu looks unfazed, but Eugene is surprised at how shabby the place is. The guy points to a wet stone left for Wu, and walks off without a care, but our big brother can't help but speak up about how poorly his friend is being treated. This just earns him odd looks and mutters about nepotism. Wu tells our pumped-up F-rank to chill, saying he's just seen as a rookie who lucked into the job. He sets down a stool, grateful for the equipment he has. Eugene watches curiously, wondering if his buddy can still work with a wet stone after all this time. The homeless smith gets right into it, pushing the pedal and getting started. Our hero is thrilled to see his friend's skills are still sharp. He quickly notices Wu's manual sharpening results are way better than the machine outside. As he warms up, Wu ties his hair back and starts grinding like a pro. Our big brother warns him not to overdo it, but soon he's captivated watching Wu sharpen blade after blade with laser focus. Eugene remembers the Wu he once knew, the crybaby who flinched at every little thing. The cool blacksmith looks surprises our hero, who gets lost observing the man's craftsmanship. When he tells Wu he's leaving, his buddy is surprised, overly humble as always. He apologizes to our hero for wasting his time, but Eugene silently wishes he could see his friend's cool moment longer. Thinking of Wu as a fish back in the ocean after almost drying out on land, Eugene realizes how clear it is that Wu was born to be a craftsman. Feeling relieved he won't have to worry about his friend's future, he heads out. But the very next day, their crybaby is bedridden. Wu starts doubting himself, worrying his noodle-like muscles just aren't cut out for the job. Meanwhile, back at the facility, the other crafters wonder why he hasn't shown up again. Hearing he's in pain, a lady jokes he's probably faking it, laughing at how the nepotist gave up after a half-hearted attempt. But one of them points out his work, asking if they still believe the newbie has no talent. They're stunned, seeing that this so-called nepotist sharpened 1,000 knives by hand. No wonder he's completely wiped out. Returning from his bed rest, Wu leaves everyone at the facility stunned as they watch him skillfully sharpen each blade, reaching an impressive 5,600 out of his 10,000 target. Not stopping there, he later surprises Eugene and Yim with his amazing cooking skills. After one bite, the Ice Witch practically adopts him as her big bro, begging him to stay with her forever. When Yim mentions she'll miss such delicious meals in the dungeon, our hero checks in on how she's doing. She complains dungeon runs have become boring boring since she only gets assigned B rank in lower dungeons because she's still a minor. As she munches away, she daydreams about leveling up through daily dungeon raids, but our big brother advises her to take it easy since hunters can't feel their mana drain, and running out mid-dungeon is a recipe for disaster. He then has a thought about her using potions and asks how much mana she has. When she casually answers with 102, Eugene gets a dose of depression comparing his measly 2 mana. Meanwhile, Yura tries to convince Wu to join dungeon runs as a cook, predicting his business would explode. Noticing his humble buddy's hands all roughed up, Eugene asks if Wu is pushing himself too hard, sharpening blades and cooking all day, but he replies with a smile, saying it's his pleasure to do these things. Still concerned for his fellow F-ranker, Eugene gifts Wu his gloves. Wu is astonished to find their A-rank gloves, but Eugene insists it's too hot for him to use them, so Wu should have them instead. Touched by the gesture, Wu clings to him, declaring he'll never take them off. Amusingly creeped out, my guy wishes he at least takes them off in the bathroom. Later that day, Wu gets ready to tackle another box of knives. As he wipes his sweat, he wonders about the intense heat from the facility's flames. Suddenly, someone hands him a blue towel. The lady explains it's imbued with magic to keep him cool. Wu blushes at the kindness, and his work continues smoothly. Hours later, he clocks that most folks have bailed. His eyes land on the seriously shiny magic crystal. As he gets closer, he hears the familiar yell of the beefy boss, warning him not to touch it. Indulging him, the guy dives into the history of the S-rank magic stone. He grumbles that despite its insane value, nobody's got the chops to work with it. He whines that even World's Edge, one of the top guilds, doesn't have a craftsman who can handle such a treasure. He then straight up tells Wu that an F-ranker like him shouldn't even dream about it. But then he quickly feels for Wu, admitting he's unfairly slapped with the nepotist label. He insists that only the skilled make it through the official channels, praising Wu's rare talent. He calls him a gem buried under a lack of opportunity. Wu's caught off guard by the unexpected praise. The beefy guy then invites him to keep working at the facility, even suggesting he use the pricey equipment to boost his low stats. Pleasantly surprised, a warm smile spreads across Wu's face as he promises to give it his all. Everything seems to be going swimmingly until one day 2 investigators roll up and demand he go with them. When his jacked supervisor asks what's up, one of the investigators grimly spills that they need to question Wu about Eugen's sudden disappearance. Wu's face loses all color at the awful news. He cries out that Eugen was supposed to be in the guild building all day. He adds that no one weird contacted him either, making the lady wonder if he pieced out on purpose. Suddenly, Yim bursts onto the scene, having left her dungeon raid as soon as she heard about our hero vanishing. Before she can join the convo, the suited dude pulls her aside, mentioning that Eugen's back. Deeply worried, Wu offers to help, but the guy savagely retorts that the best an F-ranker like him can do is stay out of the way since he's useless. Flashing back a few hours, Eugen was chilling on a couch surrounded by trashed furniture thanks to Peace wreaking havoc. He's stoked that all his buddies are crushing it, but when Peace starts yanking at his hair, Eugen decides it's time to take his little pal out for training, hoping to cheer him up. As they leave, a new bodyguard asks where they're headed. He grudgingly remembers the annoying protection setup where the big guilds take turns sending guards, mostly to keep tabs on him. While the guy notifies his team they're coming, he pegs him as a B-ranker from the MKC guild. The scene takes a funny turn when Peace stretches out from Eugen's arms to hit the elevator button. Our F-ranker is stoked and glances to see the guard's reaction, who couldn't care less. The two then wait in awkward silence until the elevator doors open and a crew of dudes in red suddenly barges in with a pile of luggage. Our hero checks them out too, quickly recognizing they're not from the guild. Suspicious, he peppers one of them with questions but gets a reasonable answer. The guy explains how they borrow World Edge's training room to occasionally test out gear. The guys start laughing and reassure my dude they're totally not sus, and as the elevator stops, they peace out on their merry ways. Reflecting on it, our F-ranker finds them extra suspicious for not acknowledging Peace's cuteness. He shakes it off, reminding himself that not everyone has to think his little buddy is adorable. Finally, he arrives and lets his lovable companion roam free, not even realizing he's surrounded. Just then, he turns and gets blasted with red powder, but while the poison does zilch to him, Peace is knocked out cold in an instant. The crew smothers him with a toxic napkin. They're all surprised to see our mere F-ranker still full of energy. One of the older guys guesses he might have a detox item on him and steps closer. In a panic, Eugen kicks him away and manages to break free from his captors. He bolts, yelling for the bodyguard in blue to save him from these creeps, but instead, the jerk punches him in the gut, dropping our boy to the ground, revealing himself as the big boss. He cusses out his useless underlings. The big guy orders the gang to strip off our F-ranker's overpowered gear piece by piece. They take his gloves and belt, but he's still not affected by the sleeping poison. The blonde guy notices something off about his earrings and yanks them right out. Suddenly, he's down to just 2 mana points out of 29 after already burning through his reserves fighting back. Limp and drained, our F-ranker recalls his lecture to Jam on the danger of mana depletion. Using a security loophole, they finish up by stuffing him into a piece of luggage and casually casually heading out the front door. Drifting out of consciousness, our guy makes a mental note that anyone who doesn't find peace adorable is an enemy, no doubt. Hours later, he gets a rude awakening with a water bucket to the face. Coughing and sputtering, Yujin finds himself face to face with a B-ranker, sizing up the kidnapper, Kim Wooj. He figures this B-ranker must be some big shot from a mercenary guild. However, Wooj apologizes for the trouble before grabbing him by the hair to lift him up. Not wasting a beat, the kidnapper sweetly threatens our guy, demanding the owner's token for his pet fire lion. Casually lighting a smoke, he assures Yujin that no one can find him. He repeats his request innocently, so our wise tamer gets that peace is still alive and probably nearby. He then points out that the 5 guilds are probably on their way to find him. With a pompous smile, the guy shows him that the bodyguard is still standing guard outside the room, making sure no one finds out about our tamer's vanishing. The guy laughs maniacally, revealing that even if the search begins, they'll never be found in one of the thousands of containers on the bay. He mentions that they're soon headed on a cruise to Japan. Curious, Yujin asks if Japan is specifically targeting him, but Wooj clarifies that they plan to auction him off, suggesting a scheme to sell him overseas where they can't be reached. Realizing he needs to buy time before they hit international waters, Yujin knows that without stalling, neither the association nor the guilds will be able to save him. The arrogant kidnapper tells our boy to give up, but instead, Yujin starts laughing confidently. He mocks Wooj, saying he's not scared of crap. Knowing they can't damage him as valuable cargo, he flips Wooj off. Annoyed, Wooj forgets his smoke, and angered by Yujin's taunts, bashes his knee into our unarmed F-ranker. Wooj declares this as a reminder of Yujin's place, but Yujin simply replies that he knows it well. This further provokes the bandit, who responds by grinding his boot into our hero's leg. Wooj regrets that he can't damage his merchandise any further. Meanwhile, my guy acts suspiciously masochistic, secretly hoping that the thug hurts him badly enough to land him in the hospital. To his surprise, he is dragged away to meet someone special. Wooj throws him against a cage, introducing him to a magical beast his gang has raised. Still dazed, our dragon slayer feels a slick black tentacle wrap around his neck. The ugly bandit enjoys seeing him shriek like a baby. He then introduces the C-rank monster, the poisonous tentacle monster known as Creek. The kidnapper shares a lovely fact. Its poison makes one writhe on the floor in unbearable pain, frothing at the mouth, all in the span of 30 minutes. With that, Wooj leaves, hoping to see Yujin beg for mercy on his return. He leaves our horrified F-ranker alone to endure the excruciating 30 minutes. Meanwhile, back at the guild, Yim approaches Yoon, clearly on a mission. The guild master greets her casually, starting to share the latest update from the MKC guild. Yim cuts him off by grabbing his collar, demanding he at least give her an explanation as he'd promised Yujin would be protected. Yoon, calm as ever, explains it's an unusual anomaly. He assures her that hunters who work for S-rankers are loyal and obedient to their alpha, like a pack. He points out that all bodyguards assigned to his brother were meant to be loyal hunters only. When Yim asks why this matters, Yoon reveals that guards were switched at the last minute by factions within the MKC guild. Apparently, the guild is funded by a rich guy who is responsible for power struggles between factions of the guild. He points out that Choi Seon, the face of the guild, is frustrated exactly because of having lost control of his guild. Yuhan knew this would happen, but he didn't expect World's Edge to get caught in their strife. Especially out of his expectations was them using low-rank hunters, who he shouldn't have overlooked since his brother is a mere F-ranker as well. The Ice Queen begins to calm down, but Yoon points out they still have no leads, which is exactly why he reached out to her. Although hesitant, he suggests she use her interrogation skill, White Corpse. This request doesn't sit well with Yim, though it doesn't surprise her either, as she's already picked up the scent of blood nearby. Yim quickly realizes she'll need to question the dead guard in the elevator. As the metallic doors slide open, there lies the gruesomely mutilated body of a B-rank bodyguard. Yoon states that this will provide a far more accurate account than a confession. He also makes her promise never to reveal any of this to Yujin, a promise she quietly agrees to keep. Back at the bay, Wooji notices he's no longer getting updates from his accomplice. At first, he's concerned if the guy got caught already, but then dismisses it since everything is worth it so long as he secures the token. After half an hour, he gladly opens the door and asks our F-rank tamer how he's doing. To his surprise, my guy is unconscious on the floor. The man steps on him to check if the curse to prevent fainting isn't working. He mocks Yujin for not having even the energy to piss himself, but our protagonist orders his new pet, Blackie, to have fun. Caught off guard, the confident B-rank criminal barely dodges the monster's attack, getting his arm caught by Blackie. Hyun's unable to believe his eyes. With a grin grin, our guy strokes the creature like it's just a pet, revealing that the so-called weak F ranker can control more than just baby monsters. He laughs, saying only a fool would show all their cards up front, then orders Blackie to take a bite out of him. The guy grabs onto Blackie's tongue in a panic, frustrated that he wasn't informed of such a broken skill. Our F ranker taunts him by boasting about his cool ability and plenty of others. As the next half hour drags on, he watches in terror as the creature devours Wuji, its curse working its nasty magic. Disgusted by Wuji's worsening state, our guy ponders what might have happened if the man didn't have legendary curse resistance. Deciding it's time to finish things up, he pulls a dagger from his inventory. Without control over the C-rank monster anymore, he wonders if he can still handle it. To his surprise, the creature backs away, intimidated. 2 notifications inform him that his Dragon Slayer and Rook-Tark natural enemy effects are in play, doubling his power against the creature. As a Dragon Slayer, he's got a natural advantage even against this cursed dragon. However, he is aware that his attack abilities are pretty trash, so he resorts to using his influencing skills. Casually tossing his knife away, he catches the dragon off guard with a C-rank magic stone from his inventory. He invites Blackie to cooperate with him, while the vile kidnapper watches our hero tame the dragon once more before his eyes. Under orders from its master, the monster pounces onto the proud B-ranker, but the man shows some balls and breaks free from the tentacles restraining him. The curse on his arm still tortures him though, which lets our protagonist seize the moment and stab him from behind. In a rage, Wuji smacks my guy back, but with a smug grin, he drives his blade into the so-called mighty B-ranker as if his skin were nothing. The man curses the cocky F-ranker, who orders Blackie to bite Wuji again. In his arrogance, the kidnapper brings out his sickle, confident that he can take down a C-rank monster single-handedly, and so he does, decapitating the dragon with a single slash. Clearly pleased with himself, he laughs that Eugen is a fool to believe he could win against him, a mighty B-ranker. He bursts into maniacal laughter, eager for his revenge, but suddenly, a black miasma completely paralyzes the jerk. Dumbfounded, he wonders why the low-rank curse is active even when the creature's corpse is dead cold. Too bad bro doesn't know what's about to happen to him, as Eugen's final gratitude skill activates. Not only does he gain double the dragon's stats, but the Dragon Slayer effect doubles it to a solid 4x multiplier. Though he briefly hesitates to unleash such power on his kidnapper, our boy rationalizes it with self-defense. Staring with devilish eyes, he asks the jerk why he would kill an innocent creature. With his fingers digging into Wuji's skull, he demands to know where his little buddy is hidden. Wuji, completely unaware of his doomed fate, spouts insults back at him. Seeing the pointlessness of the exchange, Eugen decides it's time to end it. Using his sticky poison skill, he starts melting Wuji from the face down. He apologizes one last time, muttering that no one should ever know the full extent of his final gratitude skill. Despite his inner pacifist, he regrets getting kidnapped, forcing him to take lives unnecessarily. Our Dragon Slayer disappears, leaving not a trace of a body behind, at the risk of Yim using white corpse. As Eugen makes his way out, all the door handles stick to his hands. Struggling to control his overwhelming power, our Dragon Slayer thinks about how to spend the next 7 days with the upgraded final gratitude. He checks to see if Blackie possesses any useful skills. True to a lizard, he spots a skill that camouflages him, and one even lets him detect foes stronger than himself. As he continues on his way, the crushed bones in his leg ache, but his op stats lessen the pain. Concealed by his stealth skill, our protagonist begins searching for peace, traveling a path ironically filled with violence. Fortunately, he stumbles upon the same jerks who kidnapped him. With his invisible tentacles, he chokes them while casually walking by. He walks in on a boss guy casually scrolling on his phone. After kicking open the steel doors with raw leg strength, he wonders who the man is. Judging by the man's demeanor, he seems like the top dog, while the guy looks shocked at an F-ranker escaping so easily. Trying to distract our hero using Pai's name, the scumbag grabs a box and tries to sneak attack him. He misses, but then rambles that our F-ranker should have run when he had the chance. The guy summons a phantom sword and taunts him, saying he has the key to Pai's cage. On further analysis, he discovers the C-ranker with a storm axe is Park Sanoon, a nobody. So our hero, he just whips the guy's face with a tentacle, right? Like, spill it, where's the cage? But this dude, he just won't talk. Epic fail. So, smack, another slap. It's a whole beating cycle. Every time the guy spouts nonsense, he gets another pounding. This C-ranker, he actually asks if our guy got kidnapped on purpose. But nope, our hero's all, mind your own damn business and just hand over the key. He keeps torturing the punk, even though he's all, aw, shucks, I really didn't want to hurt you anymore. But then, axe in hand, charming smile plastered on, our hero unleashes his second cursed dragon skill, melts that charred black axe almost instantly. The guy's freaked out, watches black goop drip next to him, and boom, spills the beans. But hey, he's not a complete idiot. He whips works out a contract, wants safety in exchange for the key, so our hero tacks on an NDA about his powers. The guy lets out this huge sigh of relief, free from the immediate threat, but he waits for our guy to leave and rescue peace. Then, the dummy tries to ambush our dragon slayer, transforms his hands into claws and starts choking our hero, silencing him. The guy lets out this obnoxious laugh, all, haha, this Frank fool can't do squat cause the contract's curse is gonna blind him. He's mocking our hero for being dumb enough to sign without thinking. But the F-rank amateur, he just rips the cursed contract. This C-rank jerk stares, absolutely floored, can't believe his eyes. Eugen grabs those supposedly tough claws and uses the dragon's curse to lay down some serious, unimaginable agony on the idiot. Annoyed by the messy outcome, he admits he never planned on letting the guy live anyway. Eugene's just praying nobody finds out about his little crime scene, hoping they'll just write it off as some internal beef gone south. Anyway, on his way out, he decides to leave the unconscious guys alive, figures their rescue team can deal with them. Finally, he gets back to his dead dragon. He refuses to leave it, knowing the poor thing would just get salvaged for gear, so he rips out its magic stone, finally reaches Peace's cage and announces, "Daddy's here," but walking in, the cute guy's just unresponsive. He's conflicted about making his jailbreak with Peace look too easy and raise questions, so he just gently scoops up the drowsy little cub, decides to just chill in the cage. He waits for the rescue team, watches his adorable fluffball sleep, feeling all warm and fuzzy inside, totally sentimental all of a sudden. He even prays his buddy doesn't kick the bucket before he does. Hours tick by, and finally a rescue team storms the place and finds our duo just chilling, unconscious in the cage. The lady in charge barks orders to bust open the cage and get a hold of Eugen. Suddenly, the system pops up a message. Another S-ranker's on the way. Our sleeping hero gets jolted awake by his loud brother. He plays the damsel in distress routine with his brother, but right behind them, a frantic Sunan and Yim show up, with Yim even making a dramatic entrance in the cage. Seeing everyone rush to help, he gives a smug smile, loving his VIP status. But when Eugen gets him up, a sharp pain shoots up his injured leg. His worried little brother asks if he's okay, and yells at his guys to get a healer. Yaram and Sunan are also super distressed and express their concern, but our dragon slayer insists he's totally fine. However, Yuan shocks everyone by scooping up his big bro princess style, so our guy tears up a bit at his brother's sweet gesture, even though he's totally embarrassed. On the way home in a taxi, he says goodbye to Yim. He finds out she's going to be investigating, which makes him uneasy because she'll have to use her cursed skill. But his thoughts are cut short when Yuan suggests a hospital visit. Eugen insists the healer already patched him up, but his little brother's not having it. The real reason he can't go is to hide his ridiculously boosted stats. His tone changes, and he starts pouting, afraid he'll get tested and drugged by strangers all over again. Yuan, finally realizing he overlooked the trauma, agrees to go straight home. Of course, he still scans his big bro head to toe for injuries, and gets serious at the smell of reptiles hanging around. Annoyed by his brother's crazy sharp nose, our guy shrugs it off as the ocean smell. For extra caution, he even pops his stealth skill. In the end, MKC gets banned from supplying guards, and security checks for visitors are seriously beefed up, with guildmasters having to vouch for people personally. Meanwhile, security checks on visitors have also been upgraded, including guildmasters personally vouching for the guards. But lately, Eugen's been having nightmares about the B-ranker who kidnapped him. Waking up startled, he wonders if it was all a dream, but then he remembers their Blackie's memories he inherited, thanks to final gratitude. He curls up for a bit before getting water, thinking about how much he suffered before the rewind. Remembering how low-class hunters often bite the dust, he thinks back to his own first time. The trauma was so intense, he spent a week just drinking alone in his room, until some people, probably Yuan's guys, rushed him to the hospital. But he gets his confidence back, knowing his S-rank friends won't be taken down that easily. Concerned about Wu, he checks on him and finds his bed empty. In the workshop, our total badass Smith is grinding away at rusty knives like a pro. Finishes one, tosses it aside, grabs another, still only 20 short of 10, 0. Laughing at his own situation, he lets out this crazy laugh and smashes a knife in frustration. Wu is just so down about his pathetic state and this crappy work. He's lamenting how he couldn't do anything while his friend was in danger. His mind flashes back to the investigator who told him to stay put, hammering home that he was useless to help. And to add insult to injury, they pointed out there were no significant ties between the two in his records. Wu's heartbroken about being labeled an untrustworthy stranger. Back in the present, he sheds a few tears, feeling totally useless when it actually counts. The next morning, Yuan gets a panic call from his brother. Eugen informs him that this time, Wu left for good, and before he split, he even cooked him some parting beef bone soup. He expresses his fear that Wu might just get himself kidnapped again. Wait, is cooking beef bone soup a thing before you leave? Meanwhile, Wu's walking the streets, letting out a long sigh, feeling totally ashamed of himself. He sees himself as a worthless worthless bum, just wandering aimlessly, head down, nowhere to go. Suddenly, he notices his shoelace is untied. Just as he bends down to tie it, stuff tumbles out of his bag. Two kids walking by spot a pass guard for the World's Edge Guild slipping out. They get super excited and barrage Wu with questions about the highest ranked dungeon he's been to. A crowd starts gathering around him, making him more and more anxious. When he just can't take the pressure anymore, Wu shouts out loud, declaring that he's just a housekeeper in the dorm. This doesn't stop the kids. They just keep asking more questions. The poor guy spills the beans, revealing he only has an F-class weapon buff. This revelation kills the kids' excitement. They argue among themselves, saying that according to their mom, F-rankers are useless and can't even make decent money. All the harsh words just stab Wu, making him break down in tears. He pictures everyone leaving him because his skills are worthless. He just bows down on the floor and cries like a baby, feeling totally defeated. The little boy asks Wu why he's crying, and his big sister scolds him, saying it's all his fault. So, these kids hatch a plan to help out Wu and decide to drag him along to teach him a useful skill. Their first bright idea? Water torture. Next, they shove him off the second floor. Wu's completely mortified, wondering how some little rugrats are pushing him around. The motivated kids then drag him to jaywalk across an 8-lane road. Just as the little boy's about to step in front of a car, Wu yanks him back at the very last second, pure instinct kicking in. Wu lays into the little siblings for pulling such crazy stunts. The two kids push back, swearing they were just trying to help. They go on about how, from what they've learned, skills are supposed to pop up when your life's on the line. Wu remembers he actually did wake up his skill when his life was at stake. Worried sick about the kids, he asks if they pull dangerous stuff like this every day. He tries to get them to hit the books instead of messing around, but the kids just aren't buying it. They point out that studying won't get them squat. Listening to them, it's pretty obvious that, sadly, this world's gone all in on becoming a combat hunter instead of, learning anything. While they're standing there, bam, a sudden explosion. Then an announcement blares, telling people to get the hell out of there because of a dungeon break nearby. Wu checks his phone and realizes it's happening right in their neighborhood. But before he can even react, the kids are already hauling ass towards the dungeon, hoping to get their skills to pop in the chaos. Wu's chasing after them, yelling that it's insane for them to go in there. The scene cuts to a media crew buzzing around in helicopters, filming the whole dungeon break mess. They're reporting that spider monsters are everywhere, causing total mayhem. Suddenly, one of the reporters spots the kids and Wu running straight towards the danger on his camera. The footage goes live, showing a few stragglers still haven't evacuated. Before long, you see the kids hightailing it away from the spider monsters with Wu, who's now seriously regretting following them. The little girl's confused, asking why they're running after coming all this way. But even she can't help but keep sprinting when she sees those terrifying things. As a spider monster closes in, Wu and the little boy freeze up in terror, while the girl steps in front, playing hero and ready to protect them. She does a dramatic little kid version of an S-class majestic fist, but it lasts about 2 seconds before the spider swats her aside like a fly. She hits the ground, sinking into a pool of fear, realizing she never thought things would get this bad. Thinking fast, Wu scoops up the two kids and bolts towards a nearby staircase. His only plan is to make it to the top floor and call for help. As they scramble up, the girl's sobbing, begging them to leave her behind. The little boy pipes up that the monster's caught up again, making Wu's legs feel like jelly. Despite that, when the girl pleads to be left behind, Wu somehow finds a tiny bit of guts. He gently sets her down and pulls out his knife, tears streaming down his face. With a shaky voice, he tells the kids to run, determined to hold off the monster for as long as possible. He throws out some encouraging words, trying to give them the strength to keep going. He tells them to get up those stairs fast and call for help, hoping his sacrifice buys them enough time. The children race upward, begging Wu to hang on until they come back with help. As they disappear, Wu drops the whole hero act, knowing damn well he stands zero chance against the monster. In a quick, brutal instant, the creature hurls him against a glass window. The window shatters, sending Wu plummeting from the building. As he falls, his mind flashes back to his past, overwhelmed by how insignificant and useless he feels. But then, something completely unexpected happens. He spots someone racing up the side of the building towards him. It's Yujin, our hero. Wu initially thinks he's just seeing things, but the sight brings a deep sense of comfort. Yujin quickly catches up and jumps to close the gap. He tells Wu to grab on quick and catches his hand. A spider-like monster moves towards the duo, but the Dragon Slayer expertly dodges it using his tentacle powers. Wu, totally freaked out by the sight of the tentacles, feels a wave of fear wash over him. Curiosity gets the better of him, and he grills the hero about the weird things sticking out of his back. However, Yujin just brushes it off, suggesting Wu must be imagining things since nothing like that exists. Before Wu can even push further, our F-ranker swiftly delivers a precise chop to his neck, knocking him out cold. When Wu finally comes to, he's completely shocked to realize he's back in the dorm. He wonders if the whole thing was just a dream, but after seeing the same two kids from earlier on the news, he knows it was real. Before his panic totally spirals, our hero shows up with a bowl of soup for him. Without missing a beat, Wu starts hammering our hero about the tentacles he saw coming from his back. Yujin, though, pulls a fast one, claiming there are no tentacles and that the World Edge Hunters were the ones who saved him. Wu, not buying it for a second, insists he doesn't remember anything like that. To switch gears, our Dragon Slayer grabs Wu by the shirt and shakes him, demanding to know why he ran off. Yujin gripes about how worried he was, thinking he might never see Wu again. Hearing that someone actually still cares about him, Wu starts to cry. Our F-ranker, looking concerned, asks if Wu's hurt and needs a healer, but Wu shakes his head, explaining that Yujin's words made him feel like a massive weight had been lifted off his shoulders. Wu then nervously asks if he'll still be on our hero's friend list, even if he ends up with a useless skill once the knives are sharpened. This pisses Yujin off, who demands to know if that's why Wu ran away. Trying to pump him up, Eugene reminds Wu that he's already doing more than fine without a skill. Trying to lighten the mood, he adds that he's gotten hooked on Wu's cooking and just couldn't live without it. All this heartfelt talk fills Wu with happiness, and he promises to cook for our hero whenever he wants. As night falls, Wu gets back to his sharpening business, but this time with a clear head. While sharpening the blades, he thinks back on his past. He remembers the dark time when he was thinking about ending it all, but suddenly had an awakening. Even though his skills seemed worthless, that awakening granted him a subsidy of 1,000,001, which he used to pay off all his debts. He never felt like the main character, and often pictured himself slowly drowning in dark water. Just when he'd given up all hope of living, Yujin came along, offering a hand in friendship. At first, Wu was unsure, grateful, but also haunted by nagging anxiety. Even while sharpening the knives, Wu struggles to think of anything good. However, when he hears a little kid calling herself worthless, he realizes he's been wrong this whole time. Yujin never looked down on him because of his rank, and never tried to force him into roles that weren't a good fit. As he wipes away his tears, it hits him that our hero has been supporting him all this time. Yugen actually believed in him when he couldn't believe in himself. This realization hits Wu, and he vows to conquer his anxiety. A sense of determination floods him, like a burst of pure rage. He can practically feel the clock ticking down as his skill sharpens, approaching that 10,000 mark before his eager eyes. Suddenly, the emblem of a double S-ranked skill pops up, and the system drops the bombshell. He's officially the master of the golden skill. Next morning, a bit of a frenzy kicks off in the area. People are freaking out over the S-tier magic stone vanishing. A worker on the scene tries to calm a lady who's making a scene, asking if she's missed the news flash. They tell her the magic stone found its rightful owner. Cut to the next scene, and there's an S-ranked majestic spear in Yaram's hands. She's busted it out to test the very first weapon crafted by Wu, dubbed Perrin's Ice Tree Spear. Dead set on seeing what this thing can do, she zeroes in on the lake with the spear. In a blink, the whole damn lake is frozen solid. The guild snags the footage and plasters it everywhere, showing off the world's 16th S-class weapon, the only one ever forged by a human, mind you. The South Korean Association vouches for its tier using some fancy appraisal skill, and spills the beans on who made it. Interviewers swarm Wu, grilling him about the highest class weapon he could possibly whip up. Wu just shrugs, and says there's no cap on it, but to crank out a double S tier or even higher, he'd need to rack up more experience. Kim, standing right there next to our guy, is gobsmacked. He points out that they're gonna need a security detail for Wu now. Eugene pipes up, telling Kim that just getting the skill shot Wu's stats up to C rank. Kim's scratching his head, can't wrap his brain around it. He's never heard of anything like that happening. The scene flashes back to last night. Wu beckons our hero into his room and proudly unveils the weapon he crafted using his subspace pouch skill. Then he spills the goods, showing off a whole damn treasure trove of valuable stuff he snagged along with the skill. He even busts out a whole encyclopedia dedicated to making weapons for our F-ranker. Seeing all the sweet loot Wu scored, our hero just flops back on the couch in disgust, remembering how he barely got a shrug and a handshake when he got his L-ranked skills, let alone anything like this. Wu then asks if he wants to check out his smithy. Hearing the word smithy, our hero snaps to attention. Wu opens a golden door into a workshop, letting our hero tag along. Our hero's jaw drops at the cool setup, muttering that with a place like this, Wu wouldn't even have to worry about getting kidnapped. As he steps inside the smithy, he can barely close his mouth in pure astonishment. Eugene's blown away seeing a burning furnace that doesn't even need fuel. As he leans in for a closer look, Wu tells him to back off, explaining it's a fire spirit. The fire spirit greets its master, introducing itself as his Moor. Our hero, amazed, says he's only seen things like this in games. Wu explains that the fire spirit lent a hand in making the weapon, saying everything was set up by the previous master to help him learn learn the ropes. Eugene finds the whole previous master thing weird, arguing how there could be one when Wu's the first ever weapon producer. Wu just says he's as clueless as anyone, explaining that all the previous master left behind was a bouquet and a card written in some language that, strangely enough, only he can read. When he translates it, it's just a simple welcome message. Eugene recalls that bits and pieces of old civilizations often pop up in dungeons and wonders if this old master from the smithy lived in some other isekai world. While our hero's mulling over the reality behind the dungeons, Wu shoves the bouquet at him, insisting it all belongs to him. Wu then pledges his undying loyalty, telling Eugene he'll let him call all the shots. Hearing this, our hero's practically buzzing with excitement. Everything's falling into place, just like he planned. But then he adds something weird, saying Wu doesn't actually have to listen to him. He then drops a bombshell. He's been keeping a secret from Wu all along. Eugene confesses that he never really knew Wu to begin with. Wu tries to say he already figured that much out, but our hero keeps apologizing, acting all reluctant and telling Wu to just do whatever he wants. Even though our hero initially thought about using Wu for his own gain, his soft heart kicks in, and he ends up doing the exact opposite. Wu thanks him but then hands the bouquet of flowers right back. What's more, he decides to give his very first weapon to Yaram from the World's Edge Guild, saying the guild's helped him out a ton. Meanwhile, our hero, sitting next to Kim, is cringing at the thought of his future investment slipping through his fingers. Despite the gut feeling, Eugene admits that seeing Wu thrive feels like a win-win. Kim then asks if Wu can just go solo now, to which Eugene shrugs and says he doesn't see why not, especially since he'd be welcomed with open arms anywhere he goes. Kim tries to talk Eugene into being a little more self-serving, but our hero just plays it cool. Yaram, after getting the weapon, first thanks Wu for it and then brings up our hero's name. Hearing his name, Eugene sputters out his drink, completely caught off guard by the unexpected mention. Wu agrees with Yaram and starts gushing about our hero, even calling him his benefactor. As the crowd's attention swings towards Eugene, he's seen trying to hide his blushing face. Meanwhile, Wu and Yaram's intentions are crystal clear. They're doing all this to make sure our F-ranker stays out of trouble. A few days fly by in a flash. Our Dragon Slayer is starting to get bored, stiff with nothing going on, especially since his blacksmith kid has gone into hibernation in his smithy. He calls out to his baby lion, asking if it wants to go for a walk. But the little furball looks totally wiped out. Eugene wonders if the kidnapping messed the little guy up. A lady walking by notices this and offers to join them in the training room. Her name is Kang Soo-young, and she's acting as a bodyguard. She explains that she was personally scouted by S from England. Word on the street is that she and her brother, Yoo Jung-hyuk, have big plans together for the future. As Soo-young walks with our hero to the training area, she mentions that the kidnapping news freaked her out, and she's relieved to find him in one piece, claiming he's her last hope. She explains that she's got a double S-ranked dragon riding skill. The hitch is, dragons are notoriously hard to tame, making it practically impossible for her to actually use her skill effectively. Soo-young shares that she's got high hopes tied to our hero's abilities, since dragon nests keep popping up in his Grandmaster area. Seeing her enthusiasm, our hero blushes, realizing how cute his future sister-in-law is. But then, out of the blue, Soo-young asks our Dragon Slayer to be the one to raise her child, referring to the baby dragon. This request totally grosses out our hero, who argues about her choice of words. He remembers who's behind this messed up idea, Lady Moon. They head into the training room, but Peace is just sprawled out on the floor, looking like it's given up on life. It's clinging to our hero, refusing to get down. He tries shaking it off, but it just stays put, stubborn as a mule. He asks Soo-young if there's any way to actually take the pet out for a walk. She mulls it over for a second, then mentions her Jupiter Guild's got a garden up on the rooftop. No time wasted. She gets a car hooked up with S. Meanwhile, the Jupiter Guildmaster's chilling by a sweet aquarium, getting ready to greet his guests. Scene change, and our boy rolls up to the rooftop garden. Damn, it is beautiful. Lady Soong tells him the place is sectioned off so he can just hang out there free and easy. Our Dragon Slayer tries to lay down the piece, get the baby beast to understand the palace ain't gonna hurt it. He even points out the lady next to him, meaning Kang So-young, is super nice too. Somehow these two manage to convince the little monster that everything's legit safe here. Seeing the vibrant flowers, Peace gets hyped, and in a flash, its energy's back, clear as day. All it needed was a change of scenery. So-young turns to our hero and says she can set up this little trip anytime. Adds it'd be awesome if Peace and her dragon could become buddies down the line. Eugene gets curious, asks So-young what kind of dragon she's waiting on to hatch. She says it's a rank 3 flying dragon, the winged black needle dragon, describes it as a total stamina machine, with jet black needles all over its body. So-young thinks those thorns are like, totally cute, and her favorite part is the dragon's tail is packed with poison. As our hero's kicking it with the lady, he thinks about how he hasn't had a chill moment like this since he got back, and he's genuinely feeling good about it. Even though Eugene's got a little little uneasy feeling, he shrugs it off, telling himself it's not like the Grandmaster's gonna show up here. Just as he's thinking this, his fear resistance and perception skills go off. Talk of the devil. Turns out, the Grandmaster's already here for a visit. As he walks up, our F-Ranker Song explains he had no reason not to come since his most important guest is around. Seeing the world's strongest hunter right in front of him, handing him R-grade snacks, leaves our hero completely floored. Getting poured tea by the strongest hunter in the world? Yeah, no joke. As the two dudes sit across the table, S hands a piece of bone to Eugen for his piece. Looks like a dragon wing bone, which high-ranking meat-eating monsters love. Peace seems to be instantly head over heels for it. The Grandmaster then drops his condolences about the kidnapping mess, which makes Eugen blush. S states that considering Eugen's guarding an S-ranker, is a beast tamer, and is protected by the only blacksmith in the world, there ain't nobody in the world who stacks up to him. He tells our hero all the guilds are down to give him whatever he asks for. With a playful grin, he dares Eugen to give it a shot. Our hero gets nervous, thinking about the Grandmaster's intimidating vibe. He decides to play along, saying since he's just an F-ranker, he's just watching out for his own skin. The Grandmaster then spills the beans on why he's here. He explains all the guilds have been chatting about the possibility of letting Eugen raise a second high-ranking monster, one he'd raise to protect himself. Caught off guard, Eugen acts like he's totally in the dark about it. In response, the Grandmaster says his brother might be so damn overprotective he's not sharing important stuff with him. At this point, our Dragon Slayer realizes going back in time was the best call he ever made. If he'd wished for something else, like a taming skill, he'd probably be living some isolated, boring life. As the Grandmaster sips his tea, he argues our hero's already got most of the guilds on his side, and if he wanted, he could even raise a whole monster army. Eugen replies by saying the laws might not let him do that. The guild leader shoots back that while that might be the case now, considering how fast the dungeons are spreading, those laws are bound to change over time. 5 years tops, and his very existence might be unmatched, since everyone's gonna need a beast mount. Sweat running down Eugen's face. He wonders if S is just buttering him up or testing him. Meanwhile, Eugen and Yim are having a chat. Yim mentions when she used her white corpse skill, she found out someone tried to knock our hero out with sleeping powder, but for some reason, it didn't work on him. She argues Eugen's brother doesn't even have any detox items, which probably means he's hiding something from them. Scene change. The Grandmaster himself is driving our hero to his place. Eugen asks if it's cool for an S-ranker like him to be out and about like this, arguing it wouldn't do squat for their negotiations. Suddenly, Sun's hand moves towards our hero, looking like he's gonna choke him, but instead, he buckles his seatbelt, leaving Eugen stunned. The guild leader adds, he can think of this as making up for not being able to help him during the kidnapping. He blames the MKC for what went down, but is also kinda happy because it brought our hero to visit. S even floats the idea of cutting ties with the guild, which triggers our hero's memories. He remembers the MKC was the first big guild to crumble. Thinking about the future makes Eugen suspicious of the guild master, especially since he's got zero info on his background and notices Sun's skin color is a little off from others. He then wonders if he could use his sprout skill on the guy and decides to sneak a peek at his status menu, pretending to read a billboard across the window. He tries to peek at the status menu when, bam, the Grandmaster grabs him by the neck. His fear resistance quickly kicks in as he feels intense pressure from the Grandmaster's grip. Seems like the guy already knows what Eugen was planning, but how? I mean, he hasn't even used his skill yet. Eugen asks us if he's planning on killing him, following in the MKC's footsteps. Just like that, the vibe gets tense as the Grandmaster lets our hero go, mumbling some seriously shady stuff about how neither of them has done anything. As they roll up to Eugen's building, Kim and the director are already standing there, looking all tall and serious. Just as the Grandmaster opens the door, our hero shoots out like he's about to explode, quickly getting in line next to his papa, oops, his bodyguard. The director asks the S-ranker what his deal is for showing up like this, saying it puts them at a disadvantage when a guest like that arrives without a heads up. Sun shot back that he'd already told him an A-ranker or higher would be the escort. The Golden Hen director Seok just kept stressing, asking if the Grandmaster had forgotten the chaos an S-ranker visit stirred up. The Grandmaster stayed chill, wondering if he deserved such a raw deal. He explained he was there to make sure their beast tamer was safe. Stepping forward, he hooked our hero up with a bouquet of flowers and B-ranked earrings rocking a barrier skill, stuff worth at least $1 billion. He said he'd peeped that the earrings were gone after the mess, so he figured he'd gift him a fresh pair. After dropping off the presents, he bounced, hoping to cozy up to our hero. As things switched up, our hero put the new earrings to the test. He told Peace to blast him with his rocket skill, but the poor critter got shut down easy. Noticing how gross his pet smelled, like it hadn't seen soap in ages, he figured bath time was long overdue. Giving his little little guy a scrub, he felt stoked that his guard lady Sung's scheme worked out. But then, he remembered Director Seok's comment when he saw the Grandmaster and decided to steer clear of that spot for now. He then recalled he had two S-rankers with 50 influence each, and wished he could just grab their systems by the collar and give them a piece of his mind. Finding his master deep in thought, Peace tried to bail on the bath, but Yugen, our main man, snagged him. Our protagonist chewed out his pet, but when he really looked at what he was holding, he realized it wasn't his pet but a dummy. Just as he was wondering if Peace had picked up a substitution skill, Yunyun popped up, claiming he was the one who brought it. Yugen asked if he was back from Japan, and if the doll was from there too. Yunyun showed off all the cool stuff he'd copped on his trip, including a hairband and a bag. He shoved the hairband at our hero, insisting he wear it, arguing it could blow up and become a trend if he sported it outside. Yugen then cut to the chase, asking if Yunyun just messed around in Japan or actually got some work done. Yunyun quickly handed over a tablet, saying he'd finished the jobs. Seeing the tablet, our F-ranker was impressed, but when he saw the dungeon info was blank, he questioned it. Yunyun replied that for some reason he couldn't get into a dungeon. Every time he tried, he just got bounced back. Our hero got a serious look, suggesting it might be possible since he himself had power from the dungeons. It suddenly hit him that if Yunyun and the dungeon were alike, he might be able to hit up the system using him. He hugged the guy tight, pushing him to try teleporting while still in his grasp. Yunyun objected, but Yugen argued he wouldn't let go until he agreed. With no other way to ditch our hero's hold, Yunyun teleported him to the top of a building. As he kept teleporting, our F-ranker felt the sensation was pretty similar to passing through a dungeon gate. Just as Yugen had figured, the system window started tweaking, just like it did when he was in the dungeon. He figured he could have a real chat with the system if he kept borrowing Yunyun's powers like this. He hyped the guy up to keep going, but the poor soul was already sweating bullets. Yunyun mentioned that the feeling of being hugged somehow made him want to wrestle. Unable to hold back, he slammed our hero onto the floor, but then instantly got worried, thinking about what he'd done. Yugen's barrier skill saved his butt. He quickly yanked open the system menu, hoping for some notifications this time. However, he found the code all vertical, with tons of grammar screw-ups. He wondered if the system couldn't mess with this side of the world. While comforting Yunyun, he decided to dive into a dungeon again. He ditched Yunyun, telling him he'd hit him up again when needed. Little did they know, Yunyun saw a resemblance between his granny and our hero, finding them freakishly similar. Yunyun zapped our F-ranker back to his dorm. As the scene shifted, Yugen successfully booked himself an F-ranked dungeon. He quickly threw on his new outfit for the day, trying to hide who he was, considering he still had Blackie's skills. Now was the perfect time for him to hit the dungeon and have a little powwow with the system. Our boy moved like he was starring in his own Assassin's Creed episode, throwing in some flashy extra moves along the way. Eventually, he hit the first roadblock. Popping his stealth skill, he went invisible and cruised toward the elevator he needed to sneak into. As luck would have it, a guy delivering lunch showed up at just the right moment, and our boy easily slipped inside. With his Dragon Slayer swag, he snuck right past even the sharp A-rankers without breaking a sweat. But then came the next hurdle, the dreaded beeping metal detector. Noticing a businessman getting held up for a search, our guy seized the moment. He sprinted from behind the guy and slid lightning fast through the machine, smoothly continuing on his way while the poor dude got a full-on pat-down. He finally rolled up to the place housing the dungeon doors. He thanked his luck that the guards didn't even bother keeping an eye on the F-rank dungeons. Before diving in, our protagonist set his sights on contacting the system and bailing ASAP. He double-checked his gear, especially the gatestone Yu-Hoon gifted him. Glad he snagged it back then. Our boy promised to come back in one piece, maybe even ditch his risky stunts. Jumping into the forest dungeon, he was floored by how thick the trees were. A bunch of monsters spotted him from a blind spot, thinking he was easy pickings. The shrieking monkeys lunged at him. Bad luck for them. Eugen's dragon tentacles slaughtered them. Our boy kept strolling through the dungeon, waiting for the system to hit him up again. He kept wrecking all the monkeys, literally creating a mountain of bodies. Yet, despite all his yelling, my guy gave up. Out of nowhere, the long-awaited system message popped up, scaring the soul out of him, spelled cryptically with math symbols. The system said apologies, that it wasn't its fault. Confused, he read the next message that popped up, which showed a description of the wish stone. Scratching his head, our curious F-ranker found the stone's limits starting to get blurry before the text magically vanished, replaced by a weak apology. Still clueless, my guy asked why they'd apologize. Then it clicked. He realized the big lie about no resurrection. The plot hole of the century was finally addressed. How the hell is a rewinding stone not able to bring one damn human back when asked to? When asked to explain, the system replied that its lips were sealed. Fired up, our hero vowed to defeat whatever monster it took to get the truth. But instead of the fight he expected, the system bombarded him with notifications. The system team barraged him with messages and begged him not to be mad since they'd explain everything soon. The wall of text promised to explain everything soon, but warned there was serious danger if they got caught talking to him. They requested a single week to get ready, but Eugen's stat boost would be long gone by then. He wondered how he could get into the dungeon again, as a weak F ranker. Even worse, what powerful thing was out there that even scared the system? Just as he was lost in thought, the space before him cracked open. A blinding burst of energy flooded his vision before the messages disappeared. He catches one last glimpse, bracing himself. He figures all the messages will correspond to an equally terrifying monster headed his way. A giant beam of light descends before our F ranker, foreshadowing what's to come. However, the settling dust reveals a tiny white ball of fur, reminded of Mochi. He cringes, watching the little fur ball tumble around like a confused snack. Despite the adorable sight, he hides in the bushes out of caution. Upon analysis, corrupt data reveals that it is an F-class baby monster. While my guy debates whether to slaughter the little Mochi, it tries to swallow a poisonous magic crystal. He dives in like a hero and saves the adorable thing, only to realize he's potentially holding death in his hands. But soon his heart melts seeing the fluffy thing cry. As he plans to feed the Mochi magic crystals, which it loves, he is ambushed by a raging monkey. Soon he's surrounded by an entire swarm of monkeys. Telling the tiny fluff ball to hang tight, he sets out to farm some magic crystals for it. After a short fight, our guy finally slays the boss and clears the dungeon. On the way, the tiny Mochi apparently gobbled up every magic crystal that dropped, wondering if it can eat the boss crystal twice its size. My guy watches the voracious little chick latch for its life. He plucks it off until he crushes it down to a manageable size. Suddenly, the system congratulates our boy with a flashy S-rank title, Miracle Rookie. Turns out soloing the dungeon as an F-ranker earned him an insane bonus, double drops for life. His excitement skyrockets, but just as quickly he's crushed by the realization that his stat boost will disappear soon, making him unable to enter the good dungeons, plopping the tiny Mochi on its back. He wonders if he can score similar titles by soloing E and D rank dungeons. So while he resolves not to waste his stat boost, the Mochi, now named Peepo, is done and dusted with his crystals. Now back at the dorm, peace-devouring Peepo gives him a big shock. Stuck in a conundrum, he regrets his idiocy and bringing a bird into a cat's cage. He contemplates if it was smart to bring the cute yet mysterious little monster home. While his monstrous kitty pounds the door, Yuhan shows up, catching his brother in a weird squat outside his own room. Startled, our hero accidentally tosses Peepo, which immediately triggers his little bro's instincts. When his brother asks if it's a chick, Yuhan outright admits that it's a monster. Yuhan's jaw drops. He shakes his older brother down for answers, but our genius F-ranker fumbles for an excuse, saying he took the creature in because it was abandoned. Eventually, Yuhan gives up and says they need to talk, but Yuhan seizes the moment to ask for help, calming Peace down. The brothers approach the furious baby lion, trying to convince it not to eat Poipo. With no progress, Yuhan gets down to business. He mentions that he wanted to discuss the recent kidnapping incident, assuming Yuhan's trauma has passed by now. Frustrated by Peace's constant interruptions, he casually picks up the fluffy kitty and hurls it like a baseball across the room. Yuhan is appalled, watching his little bro dust off his hands and return to their conversation like nothing happened. That's when our guy snaps. Extremely disturbed, he questions why his brother tossed his cute buddy. He tries to explain to Yuhan that what he did was wrong, but his brother innocently claims there's no harm done. He points out that the C-rank cub has high stats and is perfectly fine. Yet Yuhan keeps up the lecture, leaving his brother looking confused. His little brother suggests he calm down, but our furious F-ranker tells him to mark his words. He explains Peace's value to him using So Young from the Jupiter Guild as an example. The lady said she takes care of her partner like her own baby, and even though their guildmaster gave Peace a gift, the beast's actual owner is throwing it around like a basketball. Yuhan claims that he undoubtedly values Peace. Then he goes and makes it worse by calling Peace essential equipment for the guild. Yuhan starts scratching his head in frustration. He tells his numbskull brother that this is exactly why Peace hates him. Yuhan begins throwing out excuses, but Yuhan tries to drive home the real issue. His brother hasn't put in any effort to please Peace. Even Peepo the chick backs him up. Then his clueless brother messes up again by replying that at least he pays for Peace's food. Sick of explaining, our older brother asks if his brother even bothered to help when he's raised Peace all by himself. In the end, the guildmaster looks down and apologizes, leaving our guy wondering if he actually means it. His memory flashes back to childhood, recalling how Yuhan used to break tree branches without a care for rules or consequences. Calming down, he tells his brother to try giving Peace a hug now and then. Yuhan, looking a bit confused, gladly goes in for a hug with his brother, but under Yuhan's guidance, he reluctantly settles for an air hug with the fluffy lion. Feeling satisfied, our hero sits back on the couch with a sigh, and the two enemies immediately move apart. Suddenly, Peace waves a paw and gazes up with those puppy eyes. Thinking Peace misunderstood the scolding and feels bad for Peepo, Yuhan tries to make the two beasts reconcile. He gently asks Peace not to bully its new sibling, but the mischievous kitten starts licking the fluff ball, watching his brother forgive the naughty little lion. Yuhan is entertained by the whole scene. Considering the risks, our boy decides to give them separate rooms. His little brother reminds him about getting a checkup, but Yuhan cuts him off, asking if he's free next week. He suggests they go dungeon hunting together so he can analyze his little bro's skills and improve coordination with Peace, so Yuhan quietly agrees. Observing his carefree brother, he ponders over what his brother is obviously hiding. Together they tackle 2 dungeons, an E-class cave and a D-class lake dungeon. As expected, the system contacts him each time he enters. As a bonus, clearing the dungeons as an F-ranker grants him overpowered S-class passives, but this irritates our hero, who has no attack skills to benefit from the 2x multiplier. Still, his complaints pay off. After the second dungeon, our hero gains an S-class stealth status, making him nearly invisible to stalkers. And his new meme skill isn't useless either. It lets him share an S-class status effect when he's in contact with a friend. Back in his room, he mulls over how to make the most of the attack and sharing status. While Peace is happily munching down its food, Peepo leaps in an attempt to snatch the magic crystal jar from its master. Apparently, due to the unique circumstances that birthed the little white furball, it's turned into a true anomaly. None of the tamers have been able to tame it, and its growth conditions remain a mystery, so Yuhan decides to keep using his keyword, which seems to have some effect. He then watches as Pipo climbs onto Peace's head, creating a picture-perfect moment. Loving the furball's adorable antics, the master tamer decides to make this photo his profile pic. As expected, it's an instant hit with followers flooding in, but the magical moment gets interrupted by Yuhan, who asks his boss out for a night. Noticing the fluff ball recently gone viral, he feeds it an A-rank magic crystal, massive for its size. Peepo's dad starts panicking, scolding the gluttonous chick not to swallow everything that enters its mouth. Unbeknownst to him, his scolding brings memories of a long-lost granny to the chick's mind, all thanks to the skill's side effects. Time goes on, and a project to build the monster training facility is established right next to the guild building. Large amounts of cash are burnt to make it as fast as possible. As he's sorting his clothes, our main guy starts thinking about all the work he'll have helping Dr. White and Wu crush it in their careers, raising new monsters for big guilds and recruiting more S-rankers. Yujin has a bit of a midlife crisis, remembering his original goal was just to kick back and relax. After sulking for a bit, talking to the system becomes his top priority. It's pretty important considering how they just changed the description of the wish stone on a whim, even though it ended up working out for him. That "not my fault" message is seriously bugging him. He wonders if it's a hint about a glitch in his rewind, especially since the system just started talking to him out of nowhere in this new timeline. All these thoughts are stirring up some frustration, and he decides he's gonna get some solid answers during his next dungeon dive. However, in that very dungeon dive, our hero faces his biggest regret. Pointing a sword at him is none other than his own brother, the one he should have had a heart-to-heart with ages ago. His memory flashes back to Wu's epic food at the dining table. Wanting to help, our boy tries frying eggs, but Wu insists on handling the cooking himself. He gathers his family, wanting to enjoy a fancy meal together and spend some quality time. Jam and our big brother kick things off by praising the food, but Yoon, always the contrarian, decides he'll only eat the eggs he cooked, totally killing the warm vibes, trying to teach him some manners. Yujin scolds his brother to be a bit more polite, though Wu just shrugs it off, saying they don't need to be forced friends, especially since he's planning on bouncing from the guild soon. Surprised, Yoon asks if the chef blacksmith is leaving with Yujin. This reminds our boy of the funny scene seeing director Seek begging Wu, who politely told him no, to follow in his buddy's footsteps. Lighting up, Yim is stoked to know that his new building now has the best tamer and blacksmith in town. Seeing his brother's eagerness to split, Yoon starts sulking. It's kinda impressive how long it took for him to realize what he was losing. To show how being nice works out for him, our guy tries to lighten the mood by offering Wu his own penthouse. Still, Wu politely declines, saying he'd rather be there to craft equipment for our boy anytime. After a bit of playful back and forth, he checks if Yoon has caught on to anything, but the guild master just quietly sips his water, practically oozing negativity. Later, while washing dishes with Yor, Yujin jokes that he couldn't even stomach the food with his brother's weird attitude. He gets him being upset with Wu, but even hearing the good news about his brother's big success didn't cheer him up. Suddenly, he realizes it's all about jealousy. Yim suggests it could be linked to Yujin getting his independence. He doesn't see a problem with that, being the older brother and all. Yam, though, almost lets slip Yuan's suspicions about Big Bro's secrecy before backtracking and pretending he's just worried about a security issue. This stings Big Bro, especially about his stats, so Jam tries to reassure him. Then he flashes back to mistake number 2, not noticing something was off with his brother's attitude. Even though he gave his little brother flowers, Yoon's reaction was older than expected. He just passed them off to his secretary to keep. My guy hoped the surprise bouquet might brighten his brother's day. day, totally clueless about what was wrong. He glances over to see his bothered little brother driving quietly in this tense atmosphere. He considers finally having an honest talk. Yet things take a turn inside the dungeon. While our protagonist is busy talking to his tamed beast, Yoon is on high alert. Suddenly, a bunch of white ape monsters ambush them. Peace, once a cute kitten, now transforms into a fierce beast, charging in with energy. While our tamer is impressed, his brother brushes it off as basic animal instinct, explaining that it's their natural urge to hunt each other. Tamers, he adds, simply let the monsters handle the threats while they chill on the front lines. Taking this in stride, my guy thinks it's perfect for leveling up his companion. But in his driest tone, Ewan reminds him their goal is to level up the F-rank master, not his pet. Annoyed, our hero wonders how long his brother's weirdness is gonna last. Anyways, they go deeper into the forest. A monster attacks Eugen from above, so he taunts it to attack him. That is, before his little brother catches it midair and quickly finishes it off. Each time Eugen runs into a monster, his brother takes it out faster than he can even react. So when Yuan's blue feather skill hits him in the face, Eugen finally snaps. He asks why his brother keeps messing with his training, only to get lectured that it's too dangerous for him. At the end of his rope, he confronts his brother, asking if something's bugging him, but Yuan just keeps killing, saying it's pointless to talk to someone who's being fake. This hits a nerve in our protagonist, who shoots back that his little brother never opens up to him either. He remembers Mohuna and director Seok's reactions when they revealed Yoon's past mistakes. He complains that his brother always keeps him in the dark about serious stuff. Suddenly, Yoon gives our hero a scare as he takes down the monster right behind him. The guildmaster continues that he wanted to protect his brother while he built his team, but then admits that Eugen's group got too big, confessing his jealousy. Yoon reveals he struggled to accept his brother's success. Hearing this, our caretaker can't believe his little bro would feel that way. He assures the little guildmaster that he doesn't need to be babied anymore. Eugen claims that he's got enough protection and pull already. Annoyed, Yoon scoffs that that's not the issue. When asked what the real problem is, the little brother lets loose his frustration with a fiery blast. Finally giving in, the S-ranker asks his older brother to just stay put. He pleads with him not to do anything or go anywhere, leaving it all to him. With a serious look, he begs Eugen never to set foot in a dungeon again. Remembering his brother asking for the same thing in the past, Eugen asks his elf if his little brother can't share something with him. Suddenly, a system panel pops up and invites him to talk, catching the brothers off guard. A horrified Eugen vanishes right before his brother's eyes. Watching him reach out for his dear bro, his soul shatters from pain. At the absolute worst time, Ewan is left alone, having no clue where his brother could have gone. Meanwhile, our protagonist is swept up in a whirlwind of dungeon energy, suspended midair. The F-ranker is greeted by a smiley emoji calling him its dear honey. Suddenly, a bunch of avatars show up as emojis. Completely lost, our protagonist hesitantly asks if they are the ones behind the system. So the delighted smiley emojis express their understanding and welcome him, calling him honey again. Feeling a bit weird, he asks them to call him by his name, but before he can say it, a giant hand emoji shushes him, warning that names are off limits. The teardrop emoji jumps in, explaining that sharing too much info could cut off their connection. They whisper that names hold heavy info that will put a target on everyone in the eye of a certain them. Of course, Eugene's next question is about this them entity, but the cute emojis all insist that they can never be mentioned anyway. The system team apologizes for lying to him about the wish stone. Our hero shoots back that things actually went pretty well for him and his buddies. The red smiley pushes the conversation along, worried about the earlier timeline. Our guy asks what happened to it, and if anything bad went down. After a tense pause, the team tells him, all at once, not to sweat it, spilling that only his time got messed with. Oof, guess that means there's a world out there with a dead Eugen. Anyway, the team throws out a metaphor, saying the world's like a forest with tons of trees, and Eugen is just one of them. They bust out some magical crystals to show that only Eugen's tree, his world, rewound. Everything else, like the dungeons, how tough they were, and everyone else's lives, stayed the same. But they warn him the dungeons are only gonna get harder from here. The team swears they're busting their butts to fix it, but the problems just keep coming. They flash his S-Class album and stress that this is why their honey needs to step up. They tell him to sweet talk as many S-rankers as he can, basically making him Earth's hero. When he asks about the weird yearbook-looking album, the team explains it's to make things feel normal, like status windows and game stuff, inspired by Zelda and Street Fighter. They joke about almost making up a whole prophecy to fit his hero vibe, but then drop the bomb that they plan to ditch status windows. It makes sense. They're cool for noobs, but folks often box themselves in based on what they see there. They bring up Wu as an example, an F-ranker who totally smashed the idea that he was stuck being a nobody. They hope more folks like him will step up, proving nothing's set in stone and anyone can change. This little spark of hope lights a fire in our guy. He snatches the red smiley and starts ripping into it for giving him a crummy keyword. The confused smiley begs him to chill, as he practically tries to take a bite out of it in his frustration. Facing the task of charming 50 S ranks, he jokes if they expect him to be some harem-dating sim hero, hitting on every S-rank guy and girl with constant love bombs. The team, trying to dodge the blame, clarifies that he can charm monsters too. Then the teardrop emoji chimes in, explaining he already had the skill, they just slapped a name on it, basically. But our Karen is not having it. He gripes, wondering why he didn't get a cool guide domain and the whole kit and caboodle like his buddy Wu. The green emoji also swoops in, explaining the skill already had info squirreled away from another world, kinda gaslighting him. It hints at whether he knows about other worlds yet. They reveal the forge came from its previous owner. Since it's rare for something as big as a whole domain to jump between worlds, they spill that the last owner made a sacrifice for the skill's next one. They stress again that they only add descriptions based on the info they have and have zero control over what skills actually do. The red smiley pipes up again, jazzed that his perfect caregiver skill is one of a kind with barely any deets on what it actually does. They admit they had to wing it as they went. The green one also adds that the caregiver title is a huge honor, only for those recognized by a natural S rank. To clear things up, he spells out that most S rankers start lower and only hit their rank through hardcore training, but 1 in a million starts at S rank, like Eugen's brother. These folks are seriously special, but they often have a tough time fitting in with normal people. Heck, even their parents might struggle raising them. While the red smiley hypes up how rare his title is, our guy scoffs, pointing out he never thought Yuhan was tough. But then the cheerful emoji gets serious, warning that caretakers often check out early, sometimes in place of the S rankers they protect. On the flip side, the love of their S rank might turn into pure hate, such as the life of a caretaker, so the team cheers on their honey, praying for his safety on the rough road ahead. The emoji Power Rangers reveal his main gig. He's got 5 years to assemble his Avengers, and after that, they'll take over one by one. They start vanishing after hitting the time limit. On their way out, they tell our hero 30 minutes have flown by. Even though he's freaking out about how to face Yuhan, the system team warns him not to spill the beans about them. Grabbing the last few seconds, he asks for leads on dungeon research. The emojis explain that while the research is still the same, he should watch out for dungeons from the future popping up. He starts to ask about monsters, but the emojis cut him off, promising everything will be revealed in time, whether he digs it or not. With that, our hero gets yanked out of the dimension and lands flat on the floor. Panic washes over him as he wonders how the heck to calm his little brother down. Looking around, he's shocked to see nothing but chaos and wreckage. His face twists as he realizes the forest dungeon he knew is now a barren wasteland. His thoughts slam to a halt when a giant lion monster suddenly leaps at him from behind. His jaw drops at the sight of a clearly high-ranked monster in a beginner dungeon. Barely dodging its claws, he starts figuring out how to bail since it's way over his head, but he's stunned to see the monster's status panel, revealing it's his cute little Piz. Stunned to see his baby, he calls out to it. Before he can react, Yuhan sweeps him off his feet and throws him over his shoulder. Dumbfounded, our hero asks about the forest, only to realize his S-rank brother burned the whole thing down. Despite trying his best to calm Yuhan down, he's met with irritation. Desperate, he even calls for peace to help, but the lion just pouts. Frustrated by Eugen's rambling, Yuhan snaps, warning that if his brother doesn't shut up, he'll go berserk. After a bit, our humble F-ranker insists he'll spill everything, but Yuhan has had enough. Throwing him on the ground, he points his sword right at his big brother's face. He opens up, saying he was willing to watch from a distance, but his brother kept getting deeper and deeper into trouble. He shares his last-ditch effort to fake his brother's death and blame the boss monster, all because our hero is mixed up in too much garbage. He believes that despite all the hate and conspiracy theories, he'll even slice off a limb as proof just to keep Eugen safe. Our caretaker's memory flashes back to Red Smiley's warning that caretakers often bite it young because their S-ranker's love turns into something messed up. With a fierce glare, Yuhan lays out his plan and tells his brother to suck it up, promising to heal him right after. Luckily, at the last second, our hero's earrings form a shield, so he seizes the moment and makes a run for it. He realizes the only reason he got away was because Yuhan hesitated. Eugen warns his brother that if he pulls a stunt like that again, his big bro will never see him. Unfazed and dripping with contempt, Yuhan shoots back that it's not like Eugen was honest before either. He's stuck between a rock and a hard place. Our hero orders Peace to attack his brother as a last resort. His fierce pet sinks its teeth deep into his brother's arm, but the S-ranker doesn't budge and takes down the pet with a bash of his sword's hilt. Seeing his baby roughed up, Eugen complains about his brother hurting others without a second thought again, but Yuhan pins his brother down and lifts his sword one more time. Fortunately, the blade hits the ground inches from Eugen's head. Yuhan's voice softens as he remembers how he used to brush off all the weird things Eugen did just to keep their good times rolling. But now he's demanding to know if his brother ever told him the truth. Like, did he really get the taming skill at level 10? Because he ain't dumb enough to just raise a monster monster on a whim, knowing full well the massive hit his bank account's gonna take. He adds Wu and the others to the list of folks he's willing to help out, too. The little guildmaster stresses that all the crap back on Earth is manageable, but every time Eugen steps into a dungeon, something awful goes down, and it just breaks his heart. He frowns, remembering how useless he felt when his brother vanished, practically in tears. He asks how he's even supposed to handle that kind of pain. Hearing his brother open up, the two have a moment, but Yoon instantly backpedals to faking his death, deciding to skip taking a whole limb. He suggests just cutting off some flesh instead. My guy is practically begging him to chill for a sec, but his brother is dead set on getting evidence, swearing he'll patch up his dear brother right after. In his final moments, Eugen is just howling at the system, asking what the hell is taking so long. Suddenly, the brothers are separated by a status window. Stunned by the shimmering summon, Yoon asks what happened, so our boy scrambles to safety and cries that this is what he was trying to explain. He starts spilling the beans about peace, his S-rank skills, and all those dungeon trips. His brother just listens, looking totally bewildered. Our hero explains that he did everything for the system. He wanted to secretly figure out how it works. A worried Yoon gets a smack for asking why they'd make his F-rank brother do such dangerous stuff. Ironically, the punch to an S-class forehead ends up hurting the puncher more. Anyway, our big brother promises he's not hiding everything because he doesn't trust him. In fact, he trusts his brother more than anyone. Seeing Yoon calm down, he treats peace with a potion. He then continues that the guildmaster's security wasn't flawed. He just used his stealth skills to sneak right past him. He goes on to reveal a few more of his skills, getting a wry smile from his brother at the weird combo. However, on the system's advice, he keeps his two strongest skills on the down low. Cuddling with his grown-up fluffy lion, he offers to answer his dear little brother's questions anytime. Eugen admits his secrecy and calls his brother's worries valid, but he also forbids Yoon from stressing out like a helicopter mom. He gives him permission to butt in whenever, as long as it doesn't involve tossing him in solitary. Deeply apologetic, the little brother says sorry for being the one to break their bro code. Ultimately, our protagonist learns he should spend more time with his brother. With that, the two share a heartwarming hug. Meanwhile, an annoyed Peace gets smushed between the two brothers, who are all affectionate and ignoring him. Peace suddenly shrinks back into its adorable baby form. Using his Sherlock-level deduction skills, Yoon quickly figures out the little guy is doing this on purpose, just to be more huggable. Held tightly in Eugen's arms, the critter rewards him with the world's best cuddle. Meanwhile, it seems someone is watching the brothers through a screen. The system team watches, as their honey forces his brother to apologize for hurting Peace again. The young lady wonders if the S-rank brother is too dangerous, but a tall woman points out that nobody could be a better protector, considering how fiercely his brother clings to our caretaker. Then someone lounging on a throne pipes up, mentioning Wu's impressive potential. The tall woman sighs, noting they might not have time to let Wu fully develop and show his true worth. A weirdo wearing wolf skin suggests they should transport him to the next world, assuming this one bites the dust. Out of sympathy, the young woman asks why they can't transfer Eugen too, but the tall lady is a realist. She replies that Eugen would never forgive them for forcing him to leave his loved ones behind. So the system team crosses their fingers, hoping their sacrifices pay off. The tall lady then pulls out a bottle of strange champagne, pouring some for the young woman. She suggests they switch up Honey's room. The team of eccentrics toasts, while they wait to see how this world's fate unfolds. Likewise, everything on Earth is back to normal. The two brothers are getting along swimmingly, and our hero is stoked to know that his pet's training yielded phenomenal growth. Even better, Yuan's data has led to a breakthrough for our lovely Dr. White. She can't help but praise Eugen, noting that even the association couldn't gather this much data in such a short time. Eugen, ever the humble one, accepts her thanks. However, the doctor points out how hard it was for her to get data alone, since she refused to let any research team commercialize it. Hearing her problems, my guy proposes he can simply set her up with her very own lab in his taming facility. Her eyes light up with excitement as he lists the perks. Confused, she asks why he would do so much for her, so he answers that it's pretty obvious, to make her his, the scientist who achieves world peace, of course. Thrilled, Dr. White asks if she can bring her friends along too. He's stunned when she shows him a photo of absolute legends. Before him is a picture of future dungeon masters who will crack the theory of dungeon formation. After a pause, he gives her a resounding yes. The deal is sealed, but Eugen still frets over the cost of setting up a lab. With the system warning that dungeons will pop up more often, he's hoping Dr. White can wrap up her research ASAP. In the meantime, he uses his knowledge to cheat the stock market. With a sly grin, he invests all his cash into the company behind the first ever baldness cure. Then it's back to his main mission, taming as many S-rankers as he can. Jerem meets at a construction construction site, back from a girls' outing with Lady Moon and Soo-young. The guildmaster brags that she gave some killer tips to her junior, which the Ice Queen excitedly shows off. It looks like they're waiting for a shipment containing 3 baby monsters for our F-rank tamer to train. Hearing they're about to be unloaded, Huna pulls our hero to the side. She asks if everything's cool, so he nods while reliving memories of Yoon's yandere phase, which still sends a shiver down his spine. Switching gears, she hugs him tightly, trying to charm him into letting her borrow one of the beasts. She hints that she'll give it free experience in battle and nudges him to lend it to her sometimes. Just seeing it as a deal with a customer, our boy agrees, only for the other lady to take her turn playing with him. With innocent puppy eyes, she asks if he'll still make time for her babies while violently gripping his hand. Watching from afar, our Ice Queen enjoys the sight of her S-rank friends bullying her frail F-rank caretaker. Meanwhile, our hero is contemplating how he'll manage 50 S-rank humans, let alone monsters. Then his little brother swoops in to save the day. Yuan offers him a pendant with a translation feature for dealing with foreign interests in his taming business. To win the world's best brother award, Yuan promises unconditional support. He also assures him never to jail him, since Yujin is the most precious person in his world. The ladies practically combust with jealousy while he enjoys the results of his talk no jutsu. Their touching moment ends when a worker announces that the unloading is done. As the container opens, our hero decides to do his best to save this world for his dear brother. An old guy hands our young master ownership tokens for his new pets. He makes small talk while his men take out the cages, grumbling about the tough journey they went through. But suddenly, stuff hits the fan as one of the monsters busts loose with a blinding gust. A wild griffin takes to the sky. Yujin stares, totally wowed, seeing the mythical creature brought to life by the dungeon. Watching it soar, Hun sees it, wishing for a ride on the majestic beast. The griffin soon eyeballs the person holding its token, but Yujin is too spaced out to react. It charges right at him, but Yuan shoves him aside just in time, using enough force to leave him a bit beat up. The derpy bird chills on the floor in front of him, watching its owner knocked out cold. However, it gets annoyed seeing something carried by the workers. It dives right at them, barely slowed down by Huna's wind skill. To her surprise, it easily glides out of her attack, entering gamer mode. Yarim figures out it's resistant to wind and takes over. She comes up with a genius plan to grab it with her hands, Tarzan style, but a slap from its wings knocks her back to reality. And annoyed, she asks if she can just freeze it, realizing that would probably kill it. So, Young throws over a tough dungeon cloth, and as the sun sets, the wild griffin is wrapped up like a baby. After all that running, the 3 ladies slump over, looking like worn-out grandmas. So, Young cracks a joke that hunting would be way easier, wondering aloud if such a fierce monster is even edible as they check out the damage its tantrum caused. It seems impossible to stop the griffin's hunting instincts. Out of concern, our hero's brother suggests they kill it. Yet, Yujin is quick to get up and shut down that idea. He laughs to tell them that the cute little guy just doesn't know how to hold back against a weak master like him. As proof, he asks So Young to let the monster go and tells his brother not to butt in. He promises with a confident smirk to teach it some manners, calling it a good boy. Our master tamer invites the baby griffin. With the cutest tiny roar, it latches onto his arm, splattering some blood. Suddenly, his face twists in pain and he dramatically flails around, crying about the bleeding. This makes the little guy feel bad about what it did. Totally determined, our F-ranker invites it again after healing his injury. And so, the 3 ladies watch the whole pain and suffering thing keep going. In horror, pride, he tells the griffin to understand how pathetically weak he is, leading to the others' awkward stares. At last, it finally perches on his skinny arm, so Yujin praises it like crazy. Even the ones who wanted it gone earlier find themselves won over by its cuteness. Yarim asks what they should do if it goes wild again, so he answers that they just need to cover its eyes, since the things that got it riled up are the other 2 caged beasts, the shadow unicorns. The other girls immediately swarm the shiny new Pokemon, and he spills that griffins love to eat horse monsters. Huna sees her chance and makes a deal, offering her guild's horse meat reserves for a chance to ride the griffin. The girls are amazed at our F-rank taming master, who effortlessly makes high-ranking monsters obey him with just 1 sentence. He instantly tames the moody unicorns, proving his skills. Huna's belief in Yujin gets even stronger. Meanwhile, he wonders what to name the baby horses. When he suggests Creamy and S, Yarim cringes at his awful naming sense. Of course, Yoon loves his brother's choice, as always. Elsewhere, in a dark, trashed building, a punk questions some guy. The guy being choked begs her that they only failed because the target ripped their blinding contract. But the woman with flashy earrings is not happy when told that even the guildmaster didn't survive what happened at the bay. The earring lady acts surprised before brutally crushing his throat. Finding her raid useless, she happens to step on a bloody pile of papers. The woman then picks up a picture of our hero with her dragon claws, setting her sights on the victim as her next target. In the meantime, our hero has already gotten comfy with his pets, pets, even renaming them Pearly and Ebony since Yer kept bugging him like a grumpy wife. However, the real pain in the butt was indeed Blue, the blue-eyed griffin, the beast with the most unoriginal name, makes our boy clean up after it like a maid, 24/7. But with a fierce look from his senior, the adorable yet terrifying fluffy lion sets the bird brain straight. Eugen can't help but feel thankful that Peace is keeping things orderly, remembering how it claimed its top beast status from day one. After a while, the creatures chill out for a nap, giving him a chance to rest. Exhausted, Eugen flops onto his bed, grumbling about how he's supposed to handle 50 pets. He starts counting the 5 beasts he's already looking after when suddenly the system tells him the cursed dragon Diobalus has arrived. With a foggy mind, he brushes it off. Suddenly, it hits him when his Dragon Slayer titles kick in. He checks his phone for any news on dungeon breaks. Out of nowhere, a stranger drops down from a portal above him and snatches his phone. The lady straight out of JoJo starts talking nonsense in French. It takes Eugen a moment to turn on his translation necklace. He starts putting her words together, still confused if she's the dragon. Looking closer, he finds out that Miss French Rita is a natural-born S-ranker. Unluckily, she makes eye contact with him. The woman smashes his head into the bed, having figured out he's probably checking her stats. Our hero marks the second time an S-ranker saw right through him, knowing she can end his life if he doesn't play it smart. To lighten the mood, he jokes that she should have come during visiting hours and drops her name. Amused, she decides to let him go since he's got all the guilds and his infamous brother backing him up. She reveals that her plan was to sneak in quietly and leave once she gets what she wants. Bonking him with her finger, she declares he's no ordinary guy. Terrified, Eugen regrets his coming death right when things were finally looking up. After an awkward silence, Rieta asks him if he didn't feel anything. Before he can answer, she tears open his shirt and gives him a thorough pat-down from head to toe, hoping to find a curse resistance item. Finding nothing, the cheeky S-ranker figures out that her target was hiding a curse resistance skill and must be the one who tore her contract. Seeing that he's clueless, Rieta shares her successful business. She reveals that she's the one who's been selling contracts that can't be tracked, which blinds whoever breaks the terms. Staring closely at him, she says that he's very shady, but my guy plays innocent. This gives the messed up lady an idea. Rita grabs him by the wrist and forces him to tear apart one of her contracts. Luckily, his poison and curse resistance instantly cancel out the blinding effect. Suddenly, he's left alone, freaking out in bed, while Riette suddenly gets ready to leave after satisfying her curiosity. Sweating bullets, our guy stares at the woman who could have blinded him without a second thought if it wasn't for his resistances. Catching his baby-faced expression, Riette lets out a laugh, clarifying that she had no intention of hurting him and just wanted to figure out why her contract failed. She explains she thought her power, snagged from a dungeon boss that straight up vanished, might be messed up. Intrigued, Eugene asks what she means by a vanishing dungeon, so she just kinda drops that the dungeon pieced out right after she cleared it. While he's deep in thought, she's staring him down, wondering if he's got a clue. Memories of the system folks warning him about future dungeons leaking into the present flash through his head. Eugene figures out his time. Rewind is why this S-ranker ended up with a power she shouldn't have. He remembers from his past smarts that the dungeon boss she's talking about could only be the cursed dragon, Diobasis. When he says his guess out loud, Retta's eyes light up, and she confirms it, bragging that she and her twin bro got an SSS ranked title for taking down the dragon and snagged its powers. Things start clicking in Eugene's head. No wonder the system warned him about a dragon since Rita herself is half dragon. He's kinda freaked, realizing the time rewind has spawned two seriously strong weirdos. But the half-dragon lady spooks him, not believing how much he knows. She asks if he's half-dragon too. Even though he doesn't want to, she picks up on the scent of something that could wreck the twin dragon she beat. Our dragon slayer remembers that, yeah, he technically took down the big boss of cursed dragons, Rars, which is how he got his busted skills. Before he can say zip, our boy gets pinned down by her. After pointlessly mentioning she's not into humans anymore, she can't help but admit meeting him has gotten her a little hyped up. Our dragon slayer stammers and tries playing dumb, but seeing she's not gonna stop, as a last-ditch effort, he yells that she shouldn't wear shoes on the bed. This totally kills the mood, so she pouts that he's a jerk. Whatever, our Sigma tells her to bail if she's done, but she remembers one last thing before she leaves. Our hero sinks into depression hearing yet another woman, just like Huna, ask him to raise her kid. Acting all sweet and girly, she asks him to raise a monster she wants. Still wiped from the guild monsters, he refuses before she holds a knife to his neck. Mimicking her attitude, Eugene grins at her little power move, but figures it's a good deal considering she's an incredibly rare S-rank. Even though she's dangerous, it's worth it for him to have a solid babysitting hookup with her. He takes the chance to suck up to her with some conditions. The next day rolls around with our reliable Sunan stopping by, but he's shocked to find our grandpa laid out on the floor of his trashed room. The big guy rushes over and asks what the heck happened. Our hero gripes that way too much went down. In the end, his work thing with the half-dragon lady kicked off, including sliding into her DMs, purely for secret communication. reaction, obviously. Even remembering all the annoying stuff she did, he thanks whoever he thanks for not dying, while Sunan takes care of him like a grandpa. He's stoked he's alone. Wu or Yoon would have had trouble with her poisons and curses. In his hangover, he regrets not trying harder to influence her, especially since it would hit twice as hard on a half-dragon like her, thinking he should have just said, "I love you." He immediately ditches the idea since she's way too unpredictable. Interrupting his rambling, Sunan calls out to ask if he's okay. Our boy is caught off guard to see that his macho friend has made the place spotless. The ideal husband then grabs his hand and offers to help anytime. He's tired of training his monsters. So thrilled to have a grandson like him, our grandpa has a sweet moment with Sunan and decides to focus on the people around him before dealing with the dragon lady. Right then, a notification pops up, revealing that Sunan is ready to be promoted to S rank. Eugene squishes his cheeks in excitement and starts reading the stuff he has to do.